What is up, comic fam? Welcome to the Legion of Comics. I'm Mark, and it's Sunday. That means this is At Weeks in the Spoiler Field. Look back at this week in comics and so much more. And we just had the San Diego Comic-Con of 2022 go down, so there's a lot to talk about with that, as well as new comics and so much more. So let's not waste any time. Let's get right into it. Do not try to adjust your televisions. What you're seeing is reality. We are back, the three of us. The tripod is here. We are started at an earlier time tonight to make sure it can happen with Chris's new schedule. So moving forward, who knows what will happen, but we're going to try to adjust and work out the best that we can to make sure that the three of us are capable and able to be here without sacrificing anything on the YouTube end or in the real world end. So happy that both of you guys are here. There's a lot to talk about. And I want to do the little BS at the beginning real quick, make sure that I do what I'm supposed to do. If you need anything cleaned or pressed, hit up our good friend Justin over on Instagram. The link is in the description. He can hook you up. He can even submit directly to the big companies for you. Use that promo code We Are Legion and take advantage of the special offers that he's rocking. Also, be sure to check out BigTimeCollectibles.com for all your exclusive variants and more. They do FOC cutoffs, all that good stuff. Dropping mystery boxes all the time. They just had a convention exclusive mystery box drop that myself as well as a few others in the community picked up. So there will be a big live show going on with that in the coming days. So be sure to keep up with the channel. You don't want to miss out when that is, because per always, we'll have a blast doing a battle and everything. Possibly have a special guest. I don't know. I haven't started looking into it, but I like to try to do something special for those, as well as giveaways. I always like to give something back during those shows.
Maybe you can get AOC.
I don't know. I don't have that kind of pool, bro. It took me a second. Wow,
she has,
that's part of the grand prizes.
Yes, it is.
That's a dope book too. Yeah. So, I'll reach out. I don't know how to reach out. I guess
he's active on social media.
I'll write my congressman.
Sure, he'll hook you up.
Yeah, and then lastly, I do want to point out that the channel members have known this for a while, but I worked on it while I was on vacation. But there is official Legion of Comics merch now available. The Austin Over Pete shirt is in there. The Fandom Happens Here shirt is now available. The traditional Legion of Comics logo shirt is available, and all of these come in whatever color you decide. Because I get so many people ask me for so long how to get these shirts, and they were really exclusive for a long, long time. So I set up the Teespring account. The link is in the description of this video. I'm going to get it updated and make sure it gets put in the description of all the videos. But I'm just out of boredom. I made this banner here. You can shop Legion of Comics merch at that web address. The link is in the description. So there's some mugs on there. There's book bags on there. Just whatever. I'm just going to be updated some more. I'm going to do an official video launch to let everyone know, so I can have
a tripod one with our logos.
I was thinking about that, but I would want y'all's permission first. So I'm going to get some fun shirts on there. But I want to get some more stuff. Like I'm going to get a Jang Gang shirt designed up and put on there for sure.
Hashtag hockey bag.
So that'd be a good one. A hockey bag with a question mark on it. What is this? Let me say hey to the people in the
don't
chat.
know what that is. So milk comes in bags in Canada, but anyways.
Let's recap this sucker. We are Legion. Look at the channel emojis going on. Oh yeah, channel membership, all that. Be sure to hit that join button. Become a member of the Legion. Get exclusive content, early access to content, custom emojis, badges, all that good stuff, as well as entered into exclusive giveaways like myself and Mr. DJ Links right there are doing. So in very, very few days, we'll be going live to give away this Ultimate Fallout 4 in a 9.4. There'll be other giveaways as well. It'll be a fun, really good time. It's going to be a live stream somewhere, but it's going to be a blast. Ooh, a nice second print. I got one of those too.
No, it's just a Clayton Crane homage to it all.
Nice 13th print.
Yeah. I don't know if you can call it that.
We are a tripod. What is going on, Paul? I cannot wait for Tuesday to come see you. It's going to be a good time. Got a giant stack of books to pick up. Digger Jim throwing those channel emojis that you get access to, as well as Brother John. Awesome. What is going on? Good to see the tripod back. I got one of those. I appreciate that, Jim. I definitely appreciate anybody who shops the store. I like seeing the merch out there. Tripod, is that what we're doing? Yes, sir. That is what we're doing. Does that mean Chris is? Yes, he is. There he is. He's the pivot man as always. Third wheel. All right. So like we mentioned, San Diego Comic. Yeah, just a photo of this. Someone screenshot it. So, San Diego Comic Con just kicked off, so there's a lot to talk about. So I do want to jump right into it. I'm going to let Chris. You've got little notes, just like I was making throughout the vacation trip when the stuff was dropping.
So let's start like at the beginning of the con. The big thing for me was we got a fantastic trailer for John Wick 4. Did we? Oh man, did it look good! If you're a fan of John Wick, man, they were pulling out the stops. Like, let's just get rid of the script and let's just grab the most violent weapons we can get and throw it in people's faces.
Yeah, there was a moment where he said, "How do you think you can eventually kill everyone?" And that's just what the trailer was, just him killing everyone.
like
amazing.
Like an axe a fireman would use to break down a door. He put that in someone's face, and that actually had a couple revolutions before.
Yeah, from like 10 feet away. It was
man, it looked like seriously. You don't see an axe coming. You don't like.
The part that got me is right after that, you have him holding a guy's head down on a desk, and he's holding a nunchuck just over and over and over and over.
And then the part where he's on a car, and like he just looks at the driver and turns over. Like, doesn't the driver realize hit the brake? But still pops a couple in.
Point blank sword. They got a sword and a pistol, and they're both 5 feet away from each other, hitting swords, firing. I'm like, dude, this is. As the other three were,
suit again,
dude, some of the best fight choreography that you see in movies. It is fantastic,
and he takes it so seriously. That's what makes it so good. Is that there's no cheat. Like, I get it, the story might be a little cheese, but they do not mess around with that choreography and stuff. Yeah. And then the next day, Keanu showed up again, and we started talking about the Berserker script, and that Boom Studios has put together. The creative team for the film adaptation of Berserker, and we're going to get an anime version of it as well by the studio that did Ghost in a Shell. So that I'm hoping
that was Ghost Whisperer.
No, Ghost in the Shell. Robert Redford.
Ghost in the Shell.
Ghost in the Shell. But yeah, the
amazing anime.
Yeah, and Ghost in the Shell, arguably that versus Akira. Pick whatever one you want. You're not wrong. But I'm hoping that Berserker the movie, who knows? But Berserker the anime, if they stick to the source material, that's going to be a lot of fun. Because I know the three of us, the first few issues, at least we really enjoyed it. It was good flat-out action. We'll see what Keanu and Matt.
Thinking anime now, that makes more sense what's happened in these latter two issues, too, because it's kind of like taken off. And that last issue, I can't even recap it because of how out there it was. But after another issue or two, if they kind of ground what's going on, I can see that easily going over into anime.
Yeah, I see TJ saying, don't forget the grenade launcher, and that DJ try to get his wife to do some hand-to-hand. She's not available, man. I'll swing down to Brooklyn. You and I can do a little bit of hand-to-hand. No. Yeah, it was so good. I thought it was just going to be like a 20 or 30-second teaser. No, it was like a good minute and change.
Yeah, full trailer. Yeah. And I don't want to watch another trailer because those moments were making
that's enough for me. Like,
I want to save the rest. I'm with Ryan on this. I think I want to do one trailer and be done. I want to at least see a trailer for stuff. That's for sure. But I don't want movies ruined for me anymore. That's for sure.
And what they were talking about with Berserker, it gave me high hopes. They spoke a little bit about the Kickstarter and everything, and from the roots of and how they got Ron Garney, pardon me, how they got him signed on, and they went for it, and Keanu even gave respect to the letterer and everything. So it's they seem to be taking it very seriously. But again, I enjoy Keanu. Some of this stuff is
hey, he's our next Batman,
and
I'm not even joking. He plays the voice of Batman for Super Pets.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's Batman. They like waited to announce everyone else first, but even in the trailer, they announce everyone and save him for last. I'm sure like he'll probably have the smallest part out of all of them.
Right. Well, he was in Toy Story as well, and that was a little bit of a cameo. Yeah, the last Toy Story, the Evil Knievel character. Yeah.
Cool.
Right.
Evil Keanu. What is going on?
Evil Knievel type of character.
That's really cool. I forget what that guy's name is, but I know you're talking about.
What did you say, Ryan? El Kaboom? What was his name?
Duke Kaboom.
Duke Kaboom, right.
John
Yeah.
Krasinski is
I still need to
Superman.
watch that
Yeah.
movie though. Haven't seen it, but I've heard good things.
And then Saturday happened, and DC was up first. The one thing that Mark and I jumped on the train really early about the possibility of Henry Cavill coming out. Hollywood Reporter said that there's a chance that Henry Cavill could be there, and I thought, well, that's great because we all know that he's
Never been
he's
more
filming
excited to have kids than this right here.
right. They're
I'm
filming
taking the kids.
the midnight screening. But then he's filming The Witcher season 3 over in England. So I personally thought maybe they'll just have him over the internet on the big screen. Just maybe they'll announce that he is going to show up in Black Adam, or that he's Man of Steel is the next project down the line, or that, hey, just let everyone know we're not moving forward without a world that has Superman in it. Wasn't there. And the thing is, some of you may or may not know that there's actually a connection to The Rock. The Rock's ex-wife, Dani, is actually a part of the representation team that has The Rock and Henry Cavill on their slate. So that's the reason why I was hyped about it. I know Mark here, he hopped on the hype train too. Basically, the three of us feel that Henry Cavill's Superman is what the DCEU needs at some point. And it was very disappointing for me that he wasn't there. I had a hard time afterwards. They gave us a Black Adam trailer with a little bit of new footage. The whole Hawkman thing I thought was really cool. Yeah, we'll get to that. But it was hard for me. It was hard.
J-pop. So yeah, the overall, just real quick, the overall DC presence at San Diego Comic-Con was smaller than it had ever been in years. They did not have an actual booth setup, which just makes zero sense in my mind. Again, we can't see what's going on behind the curtain. For the past 5 years, it's been the same story with DC, with mergers, shakeups, slim downs, trim downs, and all that stuff. But all that to say, it still makes zero sense to not have a presence at Comic-Con.
Zero. No, that actually makes a lot of sense.
Especially with them coming back after the first one since COVID. It's a big one, right? It's
image means a lot, not the comic company. Your company image means a lot. And dude, I'm all over social media and even all over DC posts, and that's talked about heavily since they announced it. They're like, dude, a comic company can't even show up, and general people, and I've had numerous conversations with people that I got the same thing out of, that, I don't buy the comics, I just Google about them. I'm like, you're not helping anything, but they're sitting there trashing the company, and then other people hear it, and it's infectious. Yeah, that's a major investment just being there. Like, it says a lot.
That's a very common move these days, though. Very common.
Not for a comic company.
It was tough. Where surprisingly, the biggest news out of DC Comics was a crossover with Image again. We're now going to get another Spawn Batman title from Todd McFarlane and Greg Capullo. Maybe Jim Lee will have something to do with it. He was there. He introduced it all and spoke of it. But yeah, I get that they have their own thing with fandom, but I mentioned, this is the first one back. This is the first San Diego in 3 years. They should have gone out.
They didn't have a booth, DJ. They had the panels and stuff like that. I'll say stuff like that, but they had the panels. They had the meeting hall events, which was awesome. But I don't even know what they would do with it. I've never been to a San Diego Comic-Con. I don't even know what the booth would look like or what they would even be pumping there. But I would assume that they would have their creators that are there. Like, they had comic creators there doing panels. You would have them at a booth one of those days so that the fans, which there are plenty of fans, plenty, despite how well other companies do compared to them or not, there's still plenty of fans that would have lined up to meet these creators. And you didn't have them out there showcasing them for the fans.
They kind of dropped the ball there. And the sad part was, I watched numerous Marvel Comics live stream, because they were live streaming the entire day. And I got to see Rom V, and he was talking about Venom and Carnage. And you guys know that the Venom stuff I'm not a fan of. I am enjoying his Carnage. But my God, the three of us would have wanted to hear him talk about Swamp Thing.
Aquaman Andromeda, taking over Detective Comics next week. His biggest body of work
He couldn't talk about it, and it wasn't put out there for the masses online. I get that San Diego has a few 100,000 people that show up to him, and God bless them. But the majority of us can't make it to California for that weekend. And like I said, I was spending serious time watching it live go down. And man, it's kind of weird. The first time I hear Ron V speak, he's talking about Al Ewing and him coming up with a plot detail for Venom, and then what he wants to do with Carnage, saw Cletus Cassidy, right? Like it's interesting, but when I see Ron V, I want to hear him talk about Swamp Thing personally. Yeah, I have to do some Francais for you.
No, I was laughing at aggressively relaxing. What are you guys talking about on the show this week?
That's pretty good.
It's just so subtle. But some things that DC did put out, because they weren't completely absent from announcements and panels and everything. They did name 5 upcoming DC animated films, which a couple of them are known. We already knew that they were doing the Ruby movie. We talked about that. We knew that they had they had the Legion of Superheroes movie in development. I actually shared about that on my Instagram. God, probably about 8 months ago, but it got officially announced. There's a new Batman movie, Doom Comes to Gotham, coming, as well as Justice League Warworld animated movie is coming. So I don't know what they're going to be sourcing out of or what they're going to be pulling from and everything, but that's pretty much all the brand new information we got film-wise from DC was those animated films.
And no trailer for them.
No trailers for any of them. None of them. But we know the format for that anyways. I'm not surprised by that at all. If you want to see the trailer for an animated movie, you buy the disc, and the trailer for the next one is always included in the movie. That's been like that from day one with the DC animated film stuff. Like that's you can ask Pops. One thing that me and Pops used for years and years and years would sit down and watch these movies together. And we did it normally before the movie. We would go straight to that trailer because I'm excited to see what it's going to be, and we would watch that trailer first, and then we'd watch the movie. But physical media is dying anyway, so that stuff normally hits YouTube or something around that same time that you'd expect the movies to be coming out. And then we got the extended Shazam Fury of the Gods trailer. That looked good. Nothing that I don't think I'm just too pumped over the Shazam movies, but
I kind of thought they borrowed a couple scenes. Like there's a scene where Shazam is falling out of control and he wipes out into a few cars, and I think Pops, I believe Torpedo may have been the largest footprint for comic dealers. I might be wrong. Forgive me if I am, but I believe Torpedo is, and that's weird. That's weird saying that. But I really thought they borrowed that scene from where Superman first takes on Zod over the top of Metropolis, and he goes crashing down to street level. And I thought, well, I kind of feel like I've seen this before. Anyways, they got Helen Mirren, they got Lucy Liu, two powerhouse actresses. Yep. Yeah. So it could be fun.
So we get a premise for it in this too. We have the Daughters of Atlas mad that the powers of the gods have been, as in their view, stolen by a bunch of kids. So they want them back. And we see the staff from the first movie coming back into play.
Yep.
And they're coming for the kids. We have dragons flying around. You see a lot of what look like Greek mythology type Olympus up in the clouds and stuff like that. There's some really cool visuals and everything. I think it's on brand for what we saw with the first one, just bigger, wilder, stuff like that.
It's to me what we got from the first Shazam movie. They're kind of giving us the same recipe for this one, except they're going to change up the plot a little bit to deal with those two characters.
We also get Captain Marvel not knowing where he fits in. You know, you have Flash, a superhero that wears red, even has a lightning bolt on his chest. You have Batman out there fighting crime. You have Aquaman who's super strong. Where do I even fit in? And he feels like he's the only one in the Marvel family trying to hold the family together at this point. And like Headquake Jr. says, there is a new actress playing Mary Marvel, which I didn't notice, to be honest with you. He mentioned that to me previously I think at the day that the trailer dropped, but I didn't notice it on the surface. She, a lot of them look older. It's been a few years.
Do you know who was a massive Captain Marvel Jr. fan? I had no idea.
Elvis Presley.
Elvis Presley, sir. Elvis Presley. Yeah. So yeah, let's
Biggest thing that came out of DC was the new Black Adam trailer, though. It looks insanely good, in my opinion. I think Dr. Fate is going to steal the show. We had a bunch of quick clips and everything, spotlighting these characters. And go ahead.
It seemed a lot brighter than the very first one that we got. The visually, we see a lot more outside filming and stuff. So yeah, and I thought Hawkman.
I was gonna say that they jumped him off in this one, bro.
They just
the
kind
one
of like
clip we get of Hawkman is him jumping up, wings spreading out, coming down with the mace, and Black Adam just catching it with one hand and blasting him. I'm fairly certain that's going to have to be like their first encounter, though. Come back a little bit more.
It's funny though, because like in the last trailer where we had last two trailers, we had him, expose the wings and that moment of just golden glory, and then the second one we got to see him in flight and everything. Like now the third time we get to see him, they bitch slap him.
Like, they clipped his wings.
Like, come on, man. Like, yeah,
but it looks.
Your dad's right. Poor Hawkman.
And we still haven't had him, even though like this is probably like the last full trailer spot. Until we start getting little TV spots where they kind of just what do? They kind of just take the trailers and clip them and blend them to make the little TV spots. I don't think we're going to get a Sabbac. We know that the big bad guy for this film is not Black Adam. It's not his battle against the JSA. You can tell from the trailer, all these scenes are happening roughly around the same time in the film, which I'm assuming is the first time the JSA respond to Black Adam's presence. These guys are all going to fight together against Sabbac, which we've seen the reveal from the Todd McFarlane DC Multiverse figures. He's got the mega figure of Sabbac.
Yeah, Headquake Jr. is right. The Dr. Fate multiple helmets scene, that was really cool to look at.
It wasn't just multiple helmets, there was multiple Dr. Fates.
Yeah,
there was like 5 or 6 Dr. Fates just holding him back.
Yeah. And then Brother John's right. Then we had the Sandman trailer. I gotta admit, as a young teenager, I tried reading Sandman 4 or 5 issues. I really felt like it was above me. Neil Gaiman's writing style was above me at that point in my life. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That's a Netflix show, I believe, right? Like that one's coming on Netflix.
I believe so.
On that, I do want to ask both of y'all's opinion on this. Being that, like, we're seeing this merger. It seems like they're trying to hone everything into the HBO Max streaming service. They've canceled a lot of CW shows. They made announcements that stuff is going to, like, there's some, I can't remember what it was they announced. It's going to be exclusive to HBO Max, not on other whatevers or anything. Do you think that for Sandman we should only expect 1 season, that it was already in production early enough on that there wasn't stopping it, that at this point, like, they might just say, all right, release this season, cap it off, and depending on how it performs, they would bring it to HBO Max? Or do you think they'll just let Netflix ride it out as long as they want?
It's a tough call. Like, does DC wholly own it, or does Neil Gaiman have a piece of that pie? Like, how much controlling interest does Gaiman have in it? They could go the way of Daredevil, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, Jessica Jones, where, yep, you have it for a bit. Guess what? Your contract's expired. It's back and it's gone. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, because they put a lot of money into HBO Max. So it is surprising that I don't want to say a big piece, but a very historical comic book run, in that being Sandman, is on something that's not HBO Max, because HBO Max is not afraid to do like cursing and swearing and all that stuff. So why give it to Netflix, right? Like, but I don't know, but Gaiman may have a piece of that pie.
Yeah, so I thought that was a big part of Sandman, was that Gaiman owns pretty much all of it.
Right.
So I wasn't aware of that. So that's that.
Right. It's because it came out on the Vertigo label, right? DC Vertigo. Mm-hmm. Right.
It was one of the first Vertigo titles, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of those books that kind of like made that label what it was.
To TJ's question here, the Black Adam movie, you see these villains, like these high-tech bad guys. There's people that they're fighting, like the military-looking people and people on the flying bikes. That's Intergang, which is like, I guess, AIM of the DC universe. It's the criminal network that supplies super weapons for super villains and stuff like that. And Sabbac is a military leader of Intergang that gets juiced up when he gets possessed. pretty straightforward. It links right into what we saw in that JSA one shot that they did, the prequel to the Black Adam, that they've already shown us that that's kind of the direction they're going with Intergang being a primary, I guess, antagonist to the JSA. I'm assuming that they're going to be like a long-term problem the JSA had, because by the time the movie starts, this isn't a fresh JSA, a functioning JSA. This is the seasoned team that has to get back together kind of thing. They're playing into this is the early years superheroes that were out there.
Yeah, I thought it was okay. Like, The Rock came out dressed in the Black Adam costume, kind of what Loki did a few years back, and then same thing. We had another actor come out as the High Evolutionary later in the day. That was fun. Like, I'll admit, I thought it was fun and seemed like it was very well received. But I thought the panel was just okay. Again, I just couldn't get my head out of my butt over the fact that Cavill wasn't there. I had a real hard time with that. And yeah.
Like Pop pointed out, Intergang gets its tech from Apocalypse. It's all connected.
I didn't know.
Rolling on to Dwayne Johnson showing up in costume. He also showed up out of the costume, did a panel and everything, and he was asked who would win in a fight against Black Adam and Superman. His answer was along the lines of, pound for pound, they're both about as strong as each other. I mean, when you put them against each other, Superman has a defenselessness to magic, and he did say, I guess it all boils down to what actor's playing Superman. So I'm like, he's still fighting for Henry in whatever capacity he's capable of. So
Brandon Routh could give him a go.
Not anymore. Not after the WP did him dirty.
I like Routh though.
That's the word. Vulnerability. Not a weakness, but a vulnerability.
Yeah.
Cavill was there, but Kevin Feige thought it would be in bad taste to bring him out.
Ladies and gentlemen, a new Wolverine outwatched Cavill. Oh my goodness!
Bring in Sentry. That would just be the icing.
Oh, that's the big middle finger at these.
Henry Cavill's agents started the Superman's coming back rumor for sure. Yeah, possibly. That would be about. I mean, that'd be a smart move if you are his agent. You want him to get back. Just to put that out there and just let the fans be your best. Let them do your work for you.
Social media exploded that Wednesday. Exploded when Hollywood Reporter said that he may show up. Like, my Twitter feed just went friggin' Cavill. And
remember how much money that reporter made putting that out there?
Yeah, I'm sure he got a few dinners.
Yeah, at least. What do they drop next? So let's hit the DC Comics. Like, they had the big Crisis announcement, or they claimed they were having a big Dark Crisis announcement. It ended up being the biggest fuddy-dud I've ever seen for an announcement. The big announcement for Dark Crisis, it was going to change the way that we look at Dark Crisis, was the actual name of the event is Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths. Exactly. Why? Because in issue 4, by whatever event, the Infinite Earths return, and this is going to be a direct sequel to the original one. Well, no, it's not a direct sequel to it. It's just playing off of it. There's been numerous comics that have played off of it over the years. This is no more direct sequel than Infinite Crisis was in 05, 06. It's just, that was just such a waste of an announcement.
Infinite Crises.
The Infinite Earths have been back at least as long as the Omniverse has existed. That's kind of the concept of the Omniverse. Ryan, did you know that there weren't Infinite Earths?
No, I had no clue.
I assumed there were because I read the books. So this was like the worst announcement I had ever seen from any comic company that's ever existed.
Wow.
You heard it first.
Wow.
Mark saying something negative about DC.
Wow. And then Todd showed up.
And brought it all back.
Todd for the win.
Todd did a panel with Jim Lee, Greg Capullo, under DC's time, announcing what, Chris?
The return of Spawn and Batman together, and Capullo's going to do the pencil work. Todd's going to write it. Jim Lee's probably going to do a crap ton of variants for it. But yeah, this will be the second time that we get these two characters crossing over.
This will be the second best Canada-America partnership since this show. Yeah, I'm excited.
It's true. It's true. That's like the silver medal of news this weekend. This is a gold medal right here.
All right, so to this point, I like the idea of it being a DC on Infinite Earths, but why not just let us know from the start? That's the thing. They did let us know. We've been in a universe of Infinite Earths since they formed the Omniverse post Death
Metal. Like,
well,
zombies,
yeah, but what I'm saying, like that, they brought the whole concept of Infinite Earths back without calling it Infinite Earths. They call it the Omniverse, where anything that's possible that has happened, that will happen, all exist in one omniverse. That's the whole concept of the Infinite Earths. There's unlimited amount of Earths. This Earth can be whatever you want it to be. You know, let the writer just make it up and put a new number on it. But they claimed that they didn't want to do this from the start because it would have spoiled issue 4 had they told the readers that the Infinite Earths will return. Here's the kicker. We're only on issue 2. So what you just did was spoil the readers of the Infinite Earth. That's 2 months away from now. You're still doing the same thing you said. You said you couldn't spoil it, then you spoiled it. So there's no rhyme or reason to it, which makes it look like just bad press attempt. Like you wanted just to drive more eyes and ears towards your event. So you came up with some redonkulous idea. Like, let's just do that. Like, it almost looks desperate, to be honest with you.
Yeah. But Todd showed some cool toys I haven't seen before.
Very cool toys. They've been dropping all week long. All week long. He's even doing Avatar toys.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
he's doing a booster and Blue Beetle 2-pack.
I'll say just a heads up, James Cameron's Canadian, so that's probably why. But okay. No. Yeah, it was yeah.
I'm out.
So no, there's been nonstop kind of drops about new titles coming. DC's doing some weird looking stuff. They are doing a new static book they announced. Something about Into the Dakota-verse or something like that. Not even lying. A new Constantine book that I saw it and I got pissed. No, like I got pissed. I put in a comment like, why would you do this when the primary Constantine isn't even established in the DC universe right now? Like
one thing they also kind of dropped the ball on is they didn't talk about that tournament they had of selecting
the round robin tournament,
right? Where we got to select, what comic book do we want to see get made, and there was no mention of that. So when you said what you just said about Constantine, I thought, oh, is this what we're going to get? Like no.
So to TJ's point, I have been rolling this around. My best working theory is if you want to kind of draw back to the characters that are from an era that were like profitable for your company, that people are just wondering, why can't we do this? Why can't we have that? This is a good way to do it. They're already out there in the Omniverse, but you have a lot of people across social media that complain about the whole thing, like everything matters. And they kind of say, well, if everything matters, then nothing matters, which is actually not what they're getting at here. But if you actually pull the term Infinite Earths back, you're now calling back to that time era where people are familiar with it, where they can kind of stamp it in their memory. And you can now pull those direct characters from those times back in. Because I've seen some covers now, and some of the covers, judging from the way that the S is drawn on Superman, it's different. Judging from Wonder Woman's outfit, it's different. So I think we're going to be pulling some very time-specific characters back into this story for this event. And if they're really playing hard into the original Crisis, there could be a mixed match of heroes from different Earths, from different times, that are left standing together in a world moving forward, which I'm not opposed to that at all. I think that would be super cool. Yeah, without rebooting it, you're just shaking up your roster.
But until we get Amanda Waller, I'm going to be disappointed in this series.
Now, next, is that a segue?
Yes, it is. There we go.
We've got the greatest DC villain on film coming back to grace our presence with an upcoming HBO Max. Was it HBO Max series? God, did they announce the series or just that she will be starring in the next one?
Just that the actress what's the lady's
Viola
name?
Davis.
Thank you, Viola
Yes,
Davis.
we'll be returning. I
always want to say
it.
Octavia, but that's not Octavia.
I was just looking at Chris's face, wincing. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh wow.
Yeah, she's coming back. Thank God. And
Yeah, so
she's good too. She's good. She's a great Waller. Yes, thank you.
Amazing.
Yes, Viola Davis.
Viola Davis.
That's actually voila. But yes,
voila, Davis. Voila, Davis.
You can speak French. No, but yeah,
we know James Gunn was not. They were going to be doing more stuff launching from the Suicide Squad. We got Peacemaker, and they wanted to expand that whole Blackgate Penitentiary verse, if you will. And Amanda Waller, Viola Davis is attached to the project that hasn't been officially announced yet. And that's probably the biggest thing that happened with DC on the negative side. They weren't able to give us anything concrete that we didn't already know. But I don't want to harp on that.
Other than Spawn, Batman,
yeah.
But again, that to me, that's almost that's Image news. That's a coup for Image to go out and get DC's franchise to show up, right?
Yeah, and they did announce that they were expanding some of the one-shots. The tie-ins for Dark Crisis will be getting a Swamp Thing one.
One other thing, Mr. Dano showed up.
Yeah, I'm getting to that one too. Okay, Paul Dano, the Riddler himself, is doing a mini-series titled The Riddler, writing it, prequel to the Batman universe. So, which sounds cool on the surface, but historically, actors suck at writing comics. But I'm definitely interested enough to see what Paul Dano can bring to the table.
Unless they go get themselves an established writer, basically the ghost write it the way that we had with Keanu and Matt Kintu's Berserker.
Yeah, I was going to say, they'll probably pull a Berserker move, and he'll be the face of it. They'll have a decent writer doing a bad job, and throw some cool art in the mix.
We're getting a Sergeant Rock versus the Army of the Dead. Bruce Campbell came and made the announcement at the con, so I don't know if it's going to be literally in the Evil Dead universe or how he's attached to it.
He was signing autographs at the Marvel booth.
Distorted Illusions is the next Constantine book. I don't know.
That is an awful cover.
What in the hell they're doing?
Have no Constantine.
That's not one of those like youth graphic novel things they do.
Not one of the young whatever. Shadows of Dakotaverse is the next static series.
I'll have to look into that.
Mm-hmm. Sandman stuff. They're
gonna need my stamp of approval before they move forward.
We do get a Blue Beetle one shot, kind of just familiarizing people with Jaime Reyes, past, present, and future. Which I'm
That's a good idea.
Yes, definitely so.
Sandman.
A lot of Sandman stuff dropped that day. Like Adam, the Pins, Shazam. No, that's the coming 2023. Here's the movies.
Animated movies, right?
Yeah. So Ruby, Justice League, Batman, Doom that came to Gotham,
Doctor Doom,
Legion of Superheroes, Justice League World, and that was it for those. That got me excited. That's a dope picture.
Yeah.
Frank Miller and the boys. Here we go. We got another static Up All Night, Ryan.
That looks like another one of those youth graphic novels.
There's the Paul Dano Riddler book.
Cool looking cover.
We have a new Joker series because the one that we got wasn't bad enough. The Man Who Stopped Laughing.
The first few issues were good.
The video game, Gotham Knights, gets a prequel comic that took up space and room on direct market shelves out there instead of. So we got Batman, Riddler, Joker. That was frustrating.
No Superman, no Flash, no Wonder Woman news.
I don't even think they even touched
on Black Label news. Like,
what was it? Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League is the name of the video game that they've been working on. It's been showcased at the past 2 fandom events, and it's still not out there, and it keeps getting kicked down the road. So I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that's just still out there in the wind.
Yeah.
Let's see. Pennyworth. That's one that moved over to HBO Max. That was an Epix exclusive, right? Epix was the name of that smaller streaming.
Something like that. That or Rails or something like that.
Something, but Pennyworth season 3 is moving over to not season 3, the next season of Pennyworth. Yeah, season 3 is going over to HBO Max only, and the first 2 seasons are present on the streaming service as of now. Harley Quinn season 3 got its trailer. It'll be coming out the 28th of this month. That looks hilarious. So I am excited about that one. I think that's pretty much it for the DC side of things. It was pretty light.
I got him at Harley Quinn, the animated one that is.
Jeff said he thought there was an early years take on him, like in the 20s. Well, no matter how early, it's still too soon.
That Harley Quinn cartoon is great. Nothing short of great.
So this is a good segue. Orville is actually heading to Disney Plus. It'll be the new home for the Orville.
Funny, because Seth MacFarlane is so tied to Fox. Interesting.
Well, isn't Fox owned by Disney?
Right. Thank you. All right. I belly flopped that one.
Thank you, Flash. So speaking of Disney and all things Disney related, let's get over to some of that. Disney's moving R-rated titles over to their streaming platform, which had already started this past week with the Deadpool films as well as Logan. So they slowly been working their way over there, building their content up to be a more wide variety of stuff on their streaming platform. And let's see, they also announced the upcoming X-Men cartoon. They're playing right off the one from our childhood. So it looks like the Magneto. They all look very familiar. Magneto's got that different design where he's wearing like
the Sylvester run stuff. Yeah,
there we go. And let's see, I didn't keep up with much Marvel stuff. I got the lineup ready to talk about when we get there in Wakanda Forever. But you got any of the other smaller announcements from them?
Let's see. There was. They also said Spider-Man freshman year,
animated Spider-Man show.
Right. So it's like every other year, we get another franchise cartoon just to keep Spider-Man fresh in the next generation of people that are about to go get their first part-time job. So that's how they hook them in, bring them in with Spider-Man, and then expose them to new characters or whatever, and let them know Spider-Man's Rogue Gallery. There's always going to be a Spider-Man cartoon. Let's be honest. There's always going to be one every 2-3 years that gets refreshed, rebooted, whatever you want to call it. But last night when Feige walked out, they started with, I believe, She-Hulk, and they walked out the cast, and then they gave us a serious upgrade on the first trailer that we got. In my opinion, we got to see one of Mark's favorite villains, the Abomination. Tim Roth was there as Abomination, and that looks like he needs
in both forms. And
right.
They gave both forms. We get to see a little transformation in there.
Right. So and
it's like our concept behind the show is we're getting like series D and E and F rate heroes and villains popping up, and they need representation, and that's where they pull in Jen to be since she too has abilities to be the lawyer for them.
So that's kind of what I thought they may do. But I'm glad to see that they're doing it. And then we had everyone's favorite male Marvel Universe lawyer show up at the tail end of the trailer. And, man, he looked good.
But we didn't actually see him in the full trailer. Like, we see him flip by real quick, then you see his billy clubs in his boots. They teased him, but the photo of him did pop up on social
we all know who he is because Charlie Cox showed up. Matt Murdock showed up in Spider-Man.
He's in the red and yellow suit.
Yeah, he's in the red and yellow suit.
Which I think it actually looks pretty decent. I have a feeling a lot of people are going to hate on it just because it's so different. But it was short-lived in the comics. I love that costume.
That
in the 90s armored costume. I just love those two.
Yeah, it looked good. And then we got the news. I know Ryan's going to want to jump in on here that Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio has signed up for an 18-episode Daredevil return television series. So
to Disney Plus.
The Disney Plus. And now this is the part where I know Ryan's going to speak up because Ryan was a big fan of what they did with Daredevil there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really understand the point of trailers for most of this Disney Marvel stuff because you already know you're going to buy the ticket. So why are they showing you anything? That's stupid. But I would definitely like to see a proof of concept on what they're going to do with Daredevil because Netflix already gave us the perfect Daredevil show. I don't really I don't really trust Disney to get it right. So, yeah, they're gonna need to show me a trailer that shows me that this is exactly what we already had, and we're just going into season 3 and or 4, and then we're gonna keep rolling with the same crew, the same cast, and we're gonna keep making the perfect Daredevil show instead of like trying to Disneyfy everything. So,
right,
18
let's hope.
that's intense.
18 episodes. Now,
So
I personally think they're going to cut
though,
it in half.
By the time we get to that Daredevil show, because it's at the end of the next phase, we'll have seen him in the Spider-Man film, we'll have seen him in the She-Hulk show, and I'm sure that he's going to pop up in, believe it or not, Echo's own TV show.
Oh, for sure. For sure he'll show up in Echo.
Villain from the Hawkeye TV show gets her own TV show as well.
But yeah, she's part of that Marvel Knights brand that Daredevil was a part of a few years back. So yeah, you can't have Echo without some sort of Daredevil appearance. As far as I'm concerned, it's what it is.
Yeah, so it's going to be a while before we get to that show, but he's going to have a few appearances by then. So I'm guessing that they're going to just burn the yellow and red costume in this one little outing in She-Hulk just to do it. I mean, I appreciate them doing it. That's paying great fan service, you know.
So just to speak on, DJ just put up there, no Spider-Man flicks in Phase 5 or 6. However, they did leave dates that just had trademarks beside them, so that they've now put the dates. Those are usually when D23 shows up and Sony does their thing. That's when the Spider-Man dates get announced.
I also want to add real quick, they announced stuff for what, all of 4 and 5, right? Or was it 5? Yeah, for all of 4 and 5. They announced
up to 6, up to the tail end of 6.
Saying,
not everything though.
Yeah. Oh, they announced 4 years ahead. Dude, none of this is written in stone. Like, they were changing around dates, all that. Like, all of this can shift and change.
Armor Wars disappeared.
Yeah. Like, yeah, it's not even there. There's not an Eternals 2 anywhere in sight. Like, none of this is written in stone. This is just a tentative plan. That's all.
Have we already forgot the last 2 years?
Yeah, when September shows up, we'll get more stuff on what's coming, because it looks like they only announced a little bit of 5.
This went from 6 to 12. I know he didn't mean this, but look, perfect segue. 5 to 6. Went from 6 to 12. 5 to 6.
Yeah, they don't have to right now bring Spider-Man back, because they did Tom Holland's Spider-Man right. Everyone has forgotten about him. In the MCU.
They what do you call it? They did announce Fantastic Four. I think they said it's supposed to be the first film in the next phase that they didn't announce. Which, think about what I just said. They announced Fantastic Four as the first film in the next phase that they didn't announce.
Right. So what they said was, Fantastic Four is getting a film at this date to start that phase. They did not say this is when the Fantastic Four is going to introduce it. The hot rumor is that the big villain in Wakanda Forever is actually Doctor Doom. So when Quantumania, which is the next one up after Wakanda Forever, we may then start to get the introduction of some of the Fantastic Four, because they're now going to go heavy into Kang, because we all know Jonathan Majors signed a multi appearance and multi-film deal with Marvel back before Loki was dropped. So we'll see.
Two next Avengers titles given to us.
The Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars. And
we also got given the name of the most bull that I ever heard in my life. I swear to God, they made this up the day of the con. The Multiverse Saga is coming.
We're in it, Mark. We're in it. Yeah, we're living it right now.
We're living the Multiverse Saga, because they have no clue what direction or anything. They just threw up the banner, Multiverse Saga. Like, dude, go home, man. Like, guys.
Can we all agree that Spider-Man has been the best movie of the Multiverse Saga then?
I don't even like using the term Multiverse Saga. We're not in a saga. the what are we doing saga?
But yeah, it's
But I agree that Spider-Man was by far the best Disney film that they've put out superheroes in a while.
After that, like I said, we did have Ant-Man and the Wasp, and Quantumania was announced. Jonathan Majors came out and spoke as Kang for a little bit, and didn't have much to say. I'll be honest. That was it. Then the people that were in attendance got a little bit of a flavor of what's going to be in that movie. It wasn't released online. Yep. And then after that, it was the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 Love Affair that came out, and there was a couple notable easy. There was a couple notable absences. Dave Bautista's Drax was not there, and same with Gamora, who was also absent for Love and whatever. And so she wasn't in that. She wasn't a part of the Guardians there. But they did basically tease that this is going to be a movie where the Gamora that is now a part of our universe is not the one that fell in love with Peter Quill. And it's going to go from there. So is she going to be a villain like what she was originally? Or are they going to try and turn her into a hero or whatever? But apparently, this is the last Guardians iteration of this team we're going to get. It's the last one that James Gunn's going to be affiliated with. So he says. And then they showed a trailer there where we were featured a few images of Baby Rocket, which ties into the whole high evolutionary thing. And then the actor from Peacemaker, who did a terrific job in Peacemaker, by the way, comes out in full costume and facial special effects as a high evolutionary. And I, for one, am excited for that, because the high evolutionary I know is not affiliated with the Avengers. The high evolutionary I know is affiliated with the X-Men. And reading the X-Men books in the late 80s and early 90s, we had the Evolutionary War, where high evolutionary decided that everyone on Earth needs to be mutated, needs to be upgraded. And that's how we
did get introduced to mutants officially with Miss Marvel, too.
Right. So it's, I think Guardians of the Galaxy is going to play a little bit more into that. And, I personally think High Evolutionary is one of those villains that could stand long-term, like Kang the Conqueror or Doctor Doom. But if he's just going to be a one and done, it's a little bit of a waste.
But we know the format here. Like, the formula is you one and done everyone, except we know it's Kang now. That's
Kang for a little bit. Then Secret Wars, we may get more Doom.
We have to build up Kang for a long time. Build up Doom. It looks like they don't have a Thanos, so they're going to Doom and Kang it. Build them
until
up.
Galactus shows up. They're going to have to duel it until Galactus shows up.
Howard Stern is Dr. Doom. Yeah, that's true.
Baba Booey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I think that they're going to have to build. They're going to have to. You have to have a villain to defeat in the film. No matter if they return later or not, you have to have a low key villain, not Loki, but low key villain.
I don't know.
Not all of them can be the Winter Soldier. You're right.
I've listened to so many reviews of Thor: Love and Thunder, and literally every single one of them, what's his name, Christian Bale and Gore the God Butcher is a footnote. So maybe you don't need a villain. I guess you just don't.
He's your low key villain. That's what I'm saying. You need a low key villain. You need him. You need your Ronin.
I think he did what he could. Ronin was a terrific villain.
I'm not saying he was bad. He was a one-off.
I actually agree with Taylor on this one.
The real villain is a consumer. 100% agree. What is going on, Taylor?
Right. And just to move things forward from Guardians of the Galaxy, apparently a lot of people were moved by it, including Kevin Smith, who said that when he watched what was available to everyone in attendance, he got choked up and was crying. And I don't know, but once you cross over, once you become a parent, you become a little bit more emotional to more and more stuff. Even phone
Kevin
commercials tear me up. Yeah,
these kids done made me soft.
Yeah, but Adam Driver's Dr. Doom. Well, he's still affiliated with Disney, whether people want to realize it or not. But and then we got a terrific. I don't know if you guys seen it, but it's up. I don't know if you guys saw it or not, the footage from it, but Marvel had this African performance, this dance troupe and a drum group came out to a musical number before Wakanda Forever was announced, and it was fantastic.
Are we on that now, Chris?
Well, what am I skipping? What am I skipping?
No, I'm just excited. We're on Wakanda forever.
Wakanda
We're there.
forever.
We made it.
We're
Dude, I am nobody to just fanboy over Disney stuff. Like, I'm very critical of it. I'm very hard of it. But the Wakanda Forever trailer is probably like that was a perfect trailer in my opinion. Like, it did a great job teasing the movie and everything. I firmly believe that trailer will be the best tribute that they do for Chadwick Boseman. The movie could be trash. I'm not saying that the movie's going to be any good. It still could be absolutely dog crap. But whoever put together this trailer deserves an award because I was emotionally moved. Angela Bassett gives a speech in it that just rips your heart out. You just feel like you start hurting for her. The song selection, the cover of it, everything, the visuals in it. Like, I thought I was watching the Avatar trailer for a second when you see the whale swimming with all the not Atlanteans, the Mylanteans.
That Trojan horse type of attack. Yeah.
When the Melantians are hanging on to, I'm like, dude, this looks crazy. The whole idea of Submariner having the Mayan heritage, like, it didn't bother me before, but it was a little weird in my opinion. But I'm a huge fan of like the whole lost civilization history stuff. So I think that's actually like playing to one of my like personal things, that I'm interested in. But dude, like when you see him as a kid standing there and then it just changes shots to him as an adult in the same position, and you get some scenes with like all out war happening, and he's just standing there on the beachhead, explosions going on around him, everyone's scurrying, but he's standing there, confident, sure of himself, not even flinching. Like, dude, that's Submariner.
Yeah, there was literally a explosion right two people over from him, and he's just like
doesn't flinch. And like I was telling Ryan before this, like it gave me like Sinestro vibes. Like when Sinestro's ring slinging, you see no emotion. He's just in there, arms crossed, constructs flying, just so sure of himself. And that's what I saw in those brief clips. I'm like, dude, that looked lit as hell. Like that looks so cool.
I just want to say before I start into this, like Ryan Coogler as writer and director for this movie has the job that I feel no one would want. Like, you're now going to somehow have to write arguably probably the biggest crown jewel independent Marvel movie that was ever made, because it cleared $1 billion. It was nominated for a handful of Oscars, and the star of that movie, remember, the first person when Cap turns around in Endgame, the first person he sees is T'Challa. And now we're going to make a movie moving forward where we don't have that crown jewel character, that crown jewel actor, and God rest his soul, but I wouldn't want that job, to try and put together a movie where we don't have him. How do we move forward with this? And obviously we're going to get it, and Ryan Coogler is a fantastic director. Like, everything he touches, I think, turns to gold.
And what is he? Well, in all seriousness, what has he done other than Black Panther and Creed?
Did he not do
Fruitvale Station?
Yeah, that's it. Fruitvale Station, the introduction of Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah, that's what made him and Michael B. Jordan the household names they are.
Right. And
Michael B. Jordan is a phenomenal actor. Yeah. Like me personally, I was all on like, dude, bring back Killmonger, turn him and put him in the suit. Like he can act that. If you can write it, he'll act it and sell it. Like he's phenomenal. The score of it too, Smith
with
Lame and Clerks is really goofy. I can't argue with that anymore. Like Kevin Smith is an acquired taste these days. He really is.
Yeah. The song selection of No Woman, No Cry, and then having it as a cover was incredible. Obviously, we had both of those artists, Bob Marley and Chadwick Boseman, die prematurely from cancer. And then have the song No Woman, No Cry, which is, a Jamaican reference to, hey, woman, don't cry. Everything is going to be okay. Or everything's going to be all right. And that was touching. And then we saw, like Mark mentioned a few moments ago, Angela Bassett just let it all out. So much so that the characters that were beside her actually moved their microphones down because they knew it was coming, and she let it all out. And that's the part that hit me. The Trojan horse scene that I'm referring to as the Trojan horse scene, where we saw
Jesus.
But yeah, it was just like Mark mentioned. This is one of the best trailers for what the MCU is.
We get to see Riri
outside
Williams.
The Winter Soldier. Yeah.
So we see the scene where a girl is hitting a piece of metal with a hammer,
so we
and
got
a
to see
little iron heart pops out of it. So Riri's
going to show up.
And if anyone's looking for those Riri Williams keys, be sure to check out the Augusta Book Exchange. There's one sitting there. Hot item.
The Invincible Iron Man 8, is it?
It's something.
Yeah.
It's a rare ratio second print of something that I submitted it and got it graded for the person who owns it.
Yeah.
And it's sitting in the showcase at ABX right now.
So
that book's going to pop.
Yeah, she could be a fun character if they do her right. I'm presuming if she's going to be a Wakandan with Wakanda tech, And then we had just that slight glimpse of the next Black Panther at the tail end. Yeah,
DJ Link's down there.
It's really not his fault if everyone else around him isn't as good.
No, that's Pedro Pascal and the second Wonder Woman movie. Like, he is out acting the whole movie. Like, everything around him, like, he seems ridiculous in that movie because everything around him does not support how good he is.
Ryan for the win.
And that's
same thing. What's her name from the Power Rangers movie in 2017? Rita Repulsa.
Elizabeth
Banks. She acted so good. The rest of the movie pales in comparison to what was going on.
That's actually on the director,
Brandon Routh,
to make that kind of to notice that and like blend that in a little bit better to make the other people redo their stuff. But it's also on the casting people. You know what I mean? Like a movie can suffer from having one phenomenal actor. It really can.
Yeah, unless it's Daniel Day-Lewis.
Even Bryan Cranston knew to phone it in on that one.
Yeah, then we had a few scenes of what looked like to be paramilitary teams show up, and the hot rumor is that those military types that are showing up in Wakanda or trying to steal tech are working for Doctor Doom. So we may now this may be the introduction of Doom.
I don't think we see the next Black Panther. I think this is the 5-year blip, and it's T'Challa's mom in the suit, I think. So we don't see any Black Panther in the trailer to the very end when you just see a hand come down in what I perceive to be a lady's figure, the little bit of figure that we get. It definitely seems to be a lady's figure, which the whole trailer was like definitely like women empowerment. Like there was very little dudes. Everyone's invited, no dudes.
Just remember, though, there always has to be a Black Panther. Since the beginning of the Marvel Universe, Avengers 1 million BC or whatever, there was a Black Panther even then. So whether it's a male or female, we're going to get a Black Panther.
Well, based on the books in my PC, I hope it's Shuri.
Yeah.
I wouldn't sell it anyway. That's my Black Panther book.
Yeah, they don't have much of a choice. I don't think M'Baku is going.
I think he's going to die. I think we saw the moment right before he dies in the trailer. We see them flying a high-tech jet to his mountaintop, which is snow covered at the time. Yep. But you also see a scene. Wasn't it him that jumped at Namor? And Namor just looks up at him.
Yeah, dude, you don't know who you're messing with. He's a timely character. You don't know who you're dealing with.
Yeah, and on top, dude, I hope to God they don't nerf him for the sake of like Shuri or somebody like this. This dude needs to be throwing submarines at some point in the movie. You know what I mean? Like this guy can go fisticuffs with Superman. Like in all sincerity, he's not just.
Yeah, he's Omega level. Let's be honest, right? So.
I hope they do him right. What is up? Freaky Louie is up in the building. And right. Correction to his comment, it is not. Freaky Louie is where the MCU shines. Freaky Louie is where everything shines. All things come from Louie. Like Lion King, each king is a shiny dot in the sky. Exactly.
It's true. There's always a Ghost Rider. There's always a Black Panther. There's always a Phoenix.
Carter Slade. And there's been rumors that we're going to get a Carter Ghost Rider as our next Ghost Rider. I don't know where that's coming from, but there's also all kinds of talk of the Stranger Things directors working on a secret Ghost Rider project right now.
Yeah. And there was a few things that we've had announcements before that weren't touched on. Blade was not touched on. Midnight Suns was not touched on.
Midnight Suns is just a thought.
Yeah,
right
yeah,
now.
but like I said, Blade wasn't touched on. But in September, just a handful of weeks away, D23 is going to happen. Obviously, the MCU is going to have to show up there too. And I'm thinking that's where we're going to get the other half of Phase 5 gets its full announcements.
See, and I said the same thing about DC. Like, why would they unload everything there? Even if they have it in the tank, why would they unload it there versus Fandom? Because that's something that's brand new. Like, that's their thing. You know what I mean? And this, like everyone keeps saying, like,
but they should have had a presence on the floor itself
books.
is what was missing, right?
Yeah. So
it's not a Comic Con though.
It is. Don't you say that to me. Ramonda says in the trailer that all her family is dead. So time stamping that trailer, I wonder if Shuri's even alive from that point. Who knows? Because Shuri is part of her family, right? That's her niece.
Yeah.
Because she was T'Challa's sister, right? Oh, I don't know.
I thought it was T'Challa's sister. T'Challa was firstborn.
I don't know.
Shuri is his younger sister.
You tell me. Like, you said it, so now it's gospel. If I'm wrong, we're wrong, Chris.
Okay. But yeah.
Namor is the first mutant. Yes, he is. And in the 616 universe, not necessarily the Disney verse. Good God, no to the Stranger Things directors. Chuck Norris could play who? Anybody he wanted to.
The American president. Takes no crap from any other country.
Dude, I think
he could be the leader of the Thunderbolts now.
Yeah.
Because Thunderbolts Ross, the actor who played Thunderbolts Ross, passed away.
William Hurt, put some respect on his name.
Right.
Taylor, you're, I think, the first person who wasn't that I haven't watched it yet, but I've heard a lot of people say nothing but fantastic things. Is season 4 the most recent one?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I've heard nothing but great things about it. But I do hold Taylor's opinion in high regard when he has something positive to say. Because if you get Taylor to say something positive, it's got to be fire. What if they have one more Bozeman performance? They're going to have to provide napkins to cry into.
They did announce his final performance was the voice work for What If. Yeah.
They even, I think they even gave him a post-mortem Emmy for it, Emmy nomination.
Yeah.
I think that's the only, yeah. So I think that's the only actor that caught one because all the, 17 Emmys that went to Disney for their stuff, all of it was for the VFX, costume, and choreography. VFX, costumes, and choreography, and then the voiceover for T'Challa.
Right. So we'll see what happens with Wakanda Forever because Black Panther was gobbled up by the Academy Awards. They fell in love with it with all those nominations.
Like reading this again, that is a good point. Like if this movie takes place during the blip, that would like lend a lot to getting people more rooted and stable without having to drag him out. Like Dr. Doom being a bigger force, you know what I mean?
I don't know, man. I don't think so because we had T'Challa return after the blip and we had those images of the Wakandan funeral where everyone was dressed in white and the mom and Shuri were on the beach crying. Yeah.
Honestly, wouldn't surprise me that much, though.
Namor's suit was phenomenal. We talked about that a little bit earlier. The whole Mayan look is working. I'm positive. There it is. All right, I'm with you now, Taylor. Eddie Munson is a metal god. You are Craig Schwinner. Vote for Taylor. Yeah, I heard nothing but like people were going crazy over this. He was playing some Metallica song, right?
Yeah, Master of Puppets.
Yeah, everyone was going crazy over that.
Yeah. No
matter what we thought of Moon Knight, Oscar Isaacs was snubbed. I don't know. There's probably some really good performances out there. Like I think he was snubbed by Disney, not by the Emmys. Not even by Disney. Whatever director. Yeah, snubbed by Disney because they're the ones that hired that director.
The script writers.
I would say muzzled more than anything.
What was it?
I would say he was muzzled more than anything. I mean, I haven't seen Moon Knight, but based on what I've heard about it, how could you give a great performance? Seems like you don't know what's going on in every episode you're filming.
All right, going back to this. All right, we're on our runs. So with them being dead, couldn't they just be referring to him being blipped as dead?
I think she's talking about her husband T'Chaka, who was killed obviously in Civil War,
and specifically about T'Challa. Like he doesn't like that would be really ballsy of Disney to roll out the red carpet and the final farewell over his missing in blip-ism versus T'Challa actually falling inside of the story. But they could. I mean, I don't put it next to him to make stupid decisions.
I mean, yeah. I think they have to address it and put it to rest now, or else it's going to be something they're going to be running from forever. And it's one thing where it's just like constantly going to create more plot holes. It's questionable if the blip was even a good idea because it creates so many holes,
Mm-hmm. All right,
I think they moved on from the blip at this point.
Yeah. Lastly, let's hit on this for 1 second. So there's the layout that they gave us for Phase 5: Ant-Man, Secret Invasion, which is a Disney Plus, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Echo, which is a Disney Plus show, Loki Season 2, The Marvels, Blade, Ironheart, Agatha for some dumb reason, Daredevil, Captain America, New World Order.
NWO for life, baby.
NWO for life. And then the Thunderbolts is going to end up and round out that one. So Thunderbolts is going to be like U.S. Agent, White Widow, and I don't know who else are going to get on the team, but I hope they get the Abomination on there. They've been bringing him back for some. This will be his second appearance now. Yeah, for life. Yeah, that was, so the layout, in all sincerity, doesn't get me overly pumped or anything. Out of those, had Disney not kind of just like ruined all my excitement for their properties, Ant-Man would have been one.
Michelle Ali is Blade. They could have 2-time Oscar winner. That could be a whole lot of fun.
It sure can if it wasn't done by Disney. And then Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, because I think what they already do that ruins so many other movies works for Guardians, because the success of what they did with Guardians single-handedly, I think, ruined the rest of the movies because they're like, oh, let's do that in all of them. But at the same time, that takes away from Guardians being unique.
What they did to the Thor movies for sure.
Yeah, by the time we get to Guardians, you're like, dude, this is just, at this point, it's like watching the same comedian for 20 years. Like, I get it. Like, I know what to expect. It's not catching it. I am home, Steve.
Your dad, Tony, didn't snap everyone back. Tony snapped away Thanos and his army. Hulk snapped everyone back. And T'Challa was the first one that came back again. When Cap turned around, who did he see? But T'Challa come out and nod at him. And then out comes Falcon.
Someone on Twitter said, Steve Rogers, enough said. Someone on Twitter.
Gospel.
Yeah. Man, since Elon Musk bought it, it's really going downhill. Yeah. Anybody could say Steve Rogers.
Yeah.
Come on to Jimi Hendrix. like, Steve Rogers is back, baby, for life. Come up with a black painted beard.
You are late, Steve. We've been here for an hour and 15 minutes, and we spent honestly probably more time on DC than we did on Marvel, who had a lot more announcements. But yeah, I'm pumped all around for the DC stuff. I'm severely underwhelmed by the program.
Loki was great.
Me, I'm Twitter.
I didn't know it was Charles. I thought it was wasn't there an alligator in there? A Loki alligator?
Yeah.
I thought there was.
Frog was in there, Loki alligator, and Kid Loki, Old Man Loki, and then Loki making out with himself.
On Twitter.
That would actually be a better version of Twitter. It would still be on brand, but it would be
TW, Twitter. Like no one knew. The whole Taylor Winter thing is just an expansion of Twitter.
They burned Nomad already. Well, they didn't burn him, but they already paid homage to him. Captain Steve Rogers was Nomad during Infinity War.
That's right.
That's why beard, the long hair. That's why he didn't have his shield. He had his
no white star in the costume.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought that was awesome. Yeah. Super cool.
Yeah, it looked really good.
They need to do a better job with DC stuff. They just do. We need more content. I wanted to hear something on Titans next year. Superman and Lois, Flash, more. They've announced. They actually announced Titans are. They didn't wait till Comic-Con to do it. They announced Titans a while back. They announced it at Fandom. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they Superman and Lois. Anything from the CW, you're just gonna have to forget about, man. It's over. It's over.
It's over.
We're getting one more season of Stargirl for sure that starts up within the next month. I hope it's the last season. I hope they ended on a high note. Know it's the end and cap it off proper.
One other thing that was interesting that dropped was the return of Andrew Lincoln to The Walking Dead. We're going to get 6 episodes or so, 6 hour worth of episodes to find out what happened to Rick Grimes.
You guys should have sold your Walking Dead issue 1s. A lot of people were buying them and holding them, waiting on the Walking Dead movie starring Andrew Lincoln that had been in development or planned for 3 years. And they're like, screw it. We'll just make another mini series on AMC to go with the other 3.
It was just they got too big for the britches and thought they were bigger than what they were and said we can make movies, and then they let the star of the show walk away, and
Lee is
kind of ended when they killed Glenn. But
yeah, John, that's what I think too. Fandom is where DC wants to promote their stuff. Marvel stuff, Disney has enough that they can do both. Like that's what it looks like. They did these announcements. They just did this layout at Comic-Con, and then they can save a lot for D23. Did they do any Star Wars announcements or anything? Because they have the Disney Star Wars stuff too. So yeah, they saved a lot. You know what I mean? They just got a lot going on. They got a whole ton going on. Good on them.
Yeah, that's how it is these days. If you control the channel, you control the attention. You want to be a big fish in a small pond. That's why DC wants to release their stuff at Fandom, because if they're at SDCC and they're like, here's all of our trailers, here's all of our comics, here's all of our everything, none of it gets any attention because there's so much other stuff. Only like 2 items are going to get noticed. But whenever you go to Fandom and that's the only thing happening that week, everything you mention gets coverage. That's why Disney wants to do their own convention. That's why DC wants their own. I'm sure Image is in works on coming up with their own. And it gives the opportunity for all of your independent people to become bigger fish, because now they're in a smaller pond. They're not being consumed by all the big powerhouses.
Well, truth be told, Fandom was only created because San Diego didn't happen. And because COVID was reigning supreme across the world. So we had two fandoms because no one could go anywhere in great mass, so they did it online.
And it was successful for them.
It was successful, and Marvel did D23 whatever online. It was just no San Diego. And now that San Diego came back for the first time in 3 years, everyone showed up except for DC. And the thing is, they came out with the films that they're going to be plugging over the next 6 months or whatever to get them to Fandom, but it's the not being there on the con floor.
Yeah, I didn't forget that Black Adam trailer. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, I mean, you see it in a lot of industries. That's the popular thing anymore. If you're a decent sized company, you create your own convention. That way, you own the channels that the content's going out on.
Right. Apple made that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's big in tech. It's big in video games. Like every big video game company has their own convention now.
DC forgot to get their 4th booster and got COVID. They couldn't make it. They were sick that day. Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, this has been fun.
Oh yeah, there's a lot to talk about. A lot of fun stuff. A lot to look forward to. Before you go, definitely before you go, were you about to leave the way you said this has been fun? I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I know we don't have you as long as usual. We're going to switch over to comics. We're going to start reviewing comics now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the first one we're going to review, because I'm not going to lose Chris before we do a power bomb. We're about to do a power bomb real quick.
Woo!
If you have not read this book,
I thought we were going to go with DC versus vampires, but okay.
No, we're going to do a power bomb. If you got time for that one, happily,
sure.
You can say,
I'll let you talk, and then I'll get the last page ready.
So if you're in the chat, like there's doesn't happen often. This is a spoiler-oriented show, but for certain books, I just hate ruining it for people. If you have not read Do a Power Bomb, but it is your intention to read it, please mute this now. Please, for the love of God, don't ruin this for yourself. I can't stress that enough.
This is the second time we've done this.
Yeah, we live and do a power bomb. Ryan, do you want to take off on this? Because I'm just going to be stupid and jump to the end, my man.
Only got Jimmy mouth of the mouth of the South Heart vibes out of this.
Yeah, Jimmy Hart looking.
Yeah. You're gonna pull a Zdarsky on Batman move and just be like,
"It's true."
Failsafe showed up, and I was like, "Wait, what?" He did. That was true, but there was a lot that happened worth talking about here. Yeah. So, doing Powerbomb 2, like, it was interesting the way it opened because it kind of like went away from everything that we had already seen. You know, picks up where we left off, of course, but I kind of expected it to be like I kind of expected it to be sort of episodic, and maybe we're going to start in like a locker room or something. But no, like we're just kind of getting like a spiel about what's going on and why our main character is here and what the stakes are at play, and a
little bit of mythos to this crazy necromancer.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah, and I also thought it was interesting, you know, because like, was it at the end of the first book, or was it something that I'd heard in an interview where Daniel Warren Johnson actually talked about like how he got into wrestling and stuff?
It was at the end of issue 1 where he was. I don't know if you want me to recap it, but at the end of issue 1, there's a letter page from Daniel Warren Johnson where he talks about having just had a small child, taking shifts with his wife 4 hours at a time, not getting sleep, burning through everything on television. And these days, wrestling is making a big pop comeback with
AEW.
What is it? All Japan Pro Wrestling and AEW. And his friend kept telling him, "You got to check it out because we grew up loving the WCW Attitude Era. You'll love this." And he did, and he loved it. So he got back into wrestling not too long ago. So I'm like, dude, this is how perfect is that?
Which reading that, I was like, man, that has to hit Mark. But but I thought it also like really well mirrored the story that he had for this character, this necromancer, because like basically he's stuck like in eternal boredom, and he's like, I just like found this TV thing, so I started watching it, and sure enough, wrestling showed up, and since I couldn't go anywhere or do anything, I like really got into it, and I'm just in love with wrestling. So I made this wrestling tournament, and if you win, you can bring your mom back. So let's try that.
Yeah, so dope concept it was.
Yeah, so I mean that's pretty much how the book opens. Is you get that whole spiel, and then we see our main character go back, and you know, like I love how like it kind of sets up the obvious so it can turn into the unknown, and it's like, oh yeah, you know who has to be her tag team partner. You know, like this makes sense.
Big Nosh, I'm late, but after ditching the popo, Big Nosh is in the house.
And so, yeah, basically she goes and seeks out Cobra Sun. And, you know, well, we get to see Cobra Sun have a fight and basically
get demolished.
That was actually very telling about how much Daniel Warren Johnson has gotten back into wrestling, because this is Cobra Sun, who was like a heavyweight champion fighter. Like everyone knew him. This is his fall from grace. You know, like in the first issue, we saw him make that error in the ring and accidentally drop our lead character's mother and killed her. She broke her neck. So we're seeing him in like a small promotion hardcore match where you're seeing little Easter eggs of them using forks to scratch each other's head like they used to do, and like the smaller promotions back in the 80s and stuff. You're seeing all the gimmicks that people do. Like when you're no longer can draw a crowd and everything, you have to just resort to whatever you can get. He has no self-respect. He doesn't feel like he deserves any. He's just putting himself in these situations and losing at that even.
Yeah, like he takes a beating specifically so that he can take a beating to like get beat up for, you know, where he's at in his life. And like the announcer, oh my god, like he like nailed the announcements and stuff. Like it was so good. Oh no, what is this? What does he have in his pocket? Is that, oh, I cannot believe this. It's a whoa, and then it like panel cuts over and you see the fork and it's like what? But yeah,
what you would see in those promotions and stuff. Like it's sourced directly.
Yeah, like he nails it in like every aspect of the performance of wrestling and what it is. And so yeah, all of that was great. And then you get to see him in the locker room, which is more or less where I kind of expected this issue to start out. That probably would have been standard fare. So it was cool that we got a lot more leading into that. And so you see him in the locker room, and our main character, is her name Laura?
Lona.
Rose.
Yeah, so she comes into the locker room and basically tells him what I just said. You know, like, this character is taking a beating because he doesn't deserve to not get the crap beat out of him every day. And she doesn't even know why. She's just like, hey, like, I can see based on the way you're wrestling and who you once were, like, you're not that bad at this. Like, you are doing this basically as self-punishment. And I think you're better than this. So come be my tag team partner, because you're not going to believe what I have to tell you. And then he basically gives her the spiel that we got at the beginning of the book.
She's like, oh, he came to you too? He's like, yeah, not interested.
Yeah.
He refused to wrestle with her, and we assume it's just because, like, the same reason we got from everybody else in issue 1. You know, like, you're
guilt
just
of killing the mother.
Yeah, you're untouchable, like, because of your mother. You know, your father's made everyone promise not to work with you and everything. And go ahead.
Au contraire, mon frère. Plot twist.
There's the French. So yeah, she doesn't give him an out. She says, no, you're going to do this because this could bring my mother back. You want this burden off your back. I want my mother back. And he doesn't argue with her. He just says, meet me at the front of the store at whenever.
If you haven't read issue 2, Drek, I would say turn this off.
Mute this right now.
Yeah.
Mute right this. This is the point.
This
point
is it. This is it. That I'm going to bed.
Mute it.
So Lona calls her father. Just basically say that I have something to tell you. That
basically goodbye before she goes and does this psychotic thing.
Right. Hey, Dad, this is what's up. I'm getting into wrestling, and the dad just says, "Be careful," and she says, "I will." Mark, may I now?
Go for it.
And then when we see her walking in the streets talking to her dad, and it flips over to her dad, a bald gentleman too, on the phone. And then Daniel Warren Johnson throws the biggest curveball that we can see, that it's her dad who killed her mother.
Her dad is
Cobra Sun. Like, I don't even think Vince McMahon could write this stuff. This is just incredible.
Dude, it was insane. I froze.
Close your eyes. Close your eyes.
I froze. I didn't know what to do. I literally just stopped. My brain immediately went back to that match in issue 1 when that foot flipped and he broke character. That when they first broke kayfabe, he said, "Oh God." I'm like, that changed the whole dynamic of it. I have goosebumps. That's his wife. Like, that's not just a ring partner. That changes the entire dynamic of everything. I'm like, oh my God. Like, my heart broke for him. My heart broke for that little girl who doesn't know, because I know she's going to find out. I'm like, oh my God.
This issue for me, guys, that final moment was the biggest wow moment I've had since Hitoto became who he is since
Dragon.
He became
when
a Palladian.
Yeah,
with that moment, like, oh my God, he did it, and like just that wow moment. This has that same factor, that, oh my God, he's her dad, and he's been carrying around this entire time. And so Daniel Warren Johnson and Yufik.
Yeah, it was
5 Maple Leafs out of 5.
Yeah. All through that issue, I was like, this is not bad, but it's also not as good as I was expecting this issue to be. and like, by that final page, it was like, nope, never mind.
Green as it gets. It couldn't get greener.
And speaking to Flash by Night there, like, dude, I mean, we speculated about Cobra Sun last time, right? We were like, oh man, like, you know, there's so much storyline that could be done with that character. Like, how does he live with this and everything? And now it's just like, whoa.
We know. You just told his whole story in that one page.
One page. Oh my God. Whew.
Yeah. It was a massive wow moment. Wow. Just so much storytelling with no words whatsoever on that back page. No words. Just, oh my goodness. We're 2 issues in, and this is now a candidate for best comic book of the year.
Yeah, it was crazy how he was able to take the burden and the weight and just shift it over to the reader. Because in that moment, when you turn, you just feel it. You're like, oh no, God.
Yeah.
And even the fact that he's going to have to go and be a tag team partner with his daughter, like, whew, that's something to look forward to seeing that dynamic play
It makes
out.
me wonder why he wouldn't have taken the offer the first time, though. When the necromancer sent him out the offer, like why didn't he jump on it? Like, I mean, is he just that broken? I mean, that's what I assume.
Well, I mean, speaking to people of our age, I think that we have the wisdom to know that that's what a monkey's paw sort of deal. Like, what are you gonna get? What are you gonna get whenever you're willing to bring somebody back from the dead? You know,
Yeah, I watch Pet Cemetery.
Cemetery.
Yeah. That's what
I don't want no Gage coming back, baby.
No.
Gage passed away.
He killed Herman Munster.
I was thinking about the Punisher, but yeah, good point. Like maybe he is wise enough to know, like, no, you're not getting what you expect to get, and so, like, as good as that sounds, I can't accept that, you know. But then to see his little girl's heart be broken twice, you know, I doubt he can live with that. And he's like, all right, like, I know this is gonna suck, and hopefully we get.
Yes,
that would be interesting.
Yeah.
Spider-Man, Uncle Ben comes back.
He dies in a more fantastic way.
That was definitely the read of the week for me. Big time read of the week.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure this is the first week we've ever actually all agreed on that.
Yeah. Which means I have to get new co-hosts now. Great.
Sad.
So, Chris, did you have time for DC? I know I'm trying to be time conscious here. I'm not trying to drag you.
DC versus Vampires. It's all out war. It's a 6-issue miniseries, semi spin-off from what Tynan's been writing with the 12-issue maxi series. Rosenberg is at the helm for this one. It's basically just a small ragtag group led by Deathstroke that's taken the corpse of Batman to a Lazarus pit because Deathstroke is under the firm belief the only way we're going to beat the vampires is if Batman comes back. No one else here is smart enough to deal with this. The only way we can do it is if Batman comes back. Well, what's waiting for him at a Lazarus pit, because Nightwing foresaw this happening, was Azrael. And Azrael cleans up shop with everyone that's there.
Yeah.
But somehow gets tossed into the Lazarus pit himself and comes out of the Lazarus pit human again. So the Lazarus pit restored Azrael to be a human again. However, once the Lazarus pit is used, it can no longer be used again. And Deathstroke is all pissed off because that was meant for Batman, not for this guy. However, now we have Azrael back on into this team, and it brings us the story goes back to where their secret hideout is. However, Nightwing, being the all-encompassing king of the vampires, sends a character over, and these are some characters I'm not necessarily familiar with, but the whole power source of the city that they were living underground with was done by, is it the Atom? Is he nuclear? Marcus, where I need your help.
Yes, absolutely.
And so there's a character named Grant. Oh, Living Bomb?
No, that's Damage.
Damage. Damage is a vampire and shows up to the city and sees where Adam is generating a sun-like source of power, and gets up close to him under using the Vigilante's mask, who was wiped out outside of the city. So that's how he got past everyone. And when he gets close to the Atom, he simply turns into the living bomb that he is and detonates and wipes everything out. And again, it lives up to its title of All Out War.
Al Pratt was his dad, the original Atom Smasher.
What?
He has daddy issues, major issues. Superman 4, the nuclear man returns.
Yes, the Atom screams at him, Grant, no, I'm a nuclear reactor, and then literally blows up wiping out a bunch of people and vampires and everything, and that's where the story ends up. And
The JSA character, he was introduced in Jeff Johns' 2007 run.
So we had Blue Beetle in this, and Mary Marvel, Deathstroke, Azrael. They teased Kane. They teased Deadman a little bit, but I'm presuming they're going to show up in the second issue because Vigilante, Blue Beetle, they all fell in this story. And again,
at least you're using a lot of characters there.
Like I said, every issue so far, no one is safe. Nobody is safe. Like I said, they killed Batman in issue 6, and I guess now the adventure carries on to try and find another Lazarus pit. But it sounds like Nightwing, who is King of the Vampires, has all the Lazarus pits covered just in case that this happens. So, and like I said, Azrael mopped the floor with them. Like it wasn't even close. Deathstroke was nothing. And like I said, Blue Beetle was there. That living bomb damage. And they all got bit and turned and ripped to pieces. And yeah, it's gory goodness. The difference between All Out War versus the normal tie-in run and the 2 one-shots is that this issue is black and white, other than the main who gets spotlighted as the main character in this issue was Deathstroke. He was actually had anything that was red on his costume was in red, and whenever someone was bit or whenever there was blood, that was in red. So it's an interesting take. It's off to a good start. It's not as good as the normal series, in my opinion. It wasn't as good as the 2 one-shots, but I have hope. You know, it's been so much fun. It's as much fun reading a DC book as which I've since the zombie ones. Led by Constantine.
They did the same thing with Deceased. They did the little spin-off miniseries headed
the
by
Constantine one. Well, yeah.
No. They did Deceased and they did Unkillables, which was a smaller one that Deathstroke was the forefront of. It was more the villains trying to survive inside of it. But yeah, it was pretty dope. The more you talk about this, the more I definitely want to check it out. I did do what I promised I would do, and I read issue 1 when it hit the DCU app, but I haven't gotten back to it, which is more than you can say about reading Immortal Hulk, so I don't feel bad.
To answer Headquake Jr.'s question, how do I see the best reading order for the DC? The tie-in run 1 to 6, then the 2 one-shots, then I would say All Out War, this one, then issue 7, which was actually released last week. No, he's got them covered with pretty serious superheroes that are now turned into vampires. Like I said, Azrael, my God. It was like pure early 90s Azrael taking on Bane. It was just fantastic to watch.
I'm not sure what a travesty was about it, but I do find humor knowing that you had to Google how to spell that man's last name just to make that comment.
He's into D&D.
Yeah, that was a tough one to spell.
I don't even know how to pronounce it properly.
I'm not even going to try.
I don't want to butcher the man's name. I just say, that Joe guy that was in Magic Mike, that was Deathstroke, that guy.
The True Blood werewolf.
Yeah. Flash Thompson. Yeah.
Flash Thompson, yeah.
All right, guys, I'm going to bow out. I am getting up at 4 a.m. So thanks for having me, guys. This was a lot of fun.
Because nobody knows how to spell that man's last name off the top of their head. You have to Google
only him.
Like, I know that
and he probably even double checks.
Yeah, his own wife kept her own last name because she couldn't spell it.
I'm 100% sure that you went over and copied and pasted it. Like, I would do the same thing. I'm not knocking you. It's just how everyone puts his name.
Joe Megan the
Yellow. In fact, Pee Wee Herman made his movie specifically for Joe, and blows my mind.
He's a good-looking kid.
Performance. I thought that he looked great as Deathstroke. Yeah. In both times we saw him at the end of the theatrical cut and when he was in the
Snyder cut.
Yeah, in the Dark Side.
He was good in the Snyder cut. Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah. That was a perfect casting job. Yeah. Brian, all right. Well, Chris, thank you so much.
Well, guys, yep.
Right.
Sorry I got to bow out, but yeah, 4 o'clock's coming quick.
Mommy's cup? No.
Yeah, must be weird in that time zone.
Yeah. Good night, guys. It's been a lot of fun.
All right, Chris, take it easy, man. Ryan, what's one that you enjoyed? We're gonna stay on a high note here. Don't know how many we're gonna get through. It was a huge week. It was massive. There's so many, and I gotta try to get to like lay down at a decent hour. It's been 10 days I've been out of town, and I didn't give myself any wiggle room. I go back to work in the morning. I've got to wake up early, and I've had my alarms on my phone for the past 2 days trying to get back on schedule, and I slept through 7 alarms each day. Yeah.
Yeah, we know. Batman, Superman. What'd you think of that?
Loved it. Talking about World's Finest?
Yeah. What else?
Another flawless issue.
Man,
how many issues is that? 4? 5?
Well, this was the 5th issue. It was the end of the story arc.
And it ended well. Ended strong.
Yeah. Like
heavy.
Getting a good ending anymore is almost impossible. And this nailed it, man. Mm-hmm. Superman going and locking himself away from the world. Come on, that was great.
So we saw in this issue, just a quick recap, there was a big battle between the Demon Nazar as well as Batman, Superman, and Supergirl. We lost Robin in time when she was coming back from the past in that last issue. So he's off the table for this one. She came back with the knowledge that the only way to stop him is to imprison him inside of this tomb. And there's no way to actually stop him. You can only imprison him. And you have to sacrifice one of your own to do it because somebody has to stay inside the tomb in order to create the seal. You have to go in and close it behind you. Leaving would break the seal. So that's all you can do. And they get on this better way kick. And finally, Superman's like,
Master Tactician.
Yeah, Superman, not Batman, Superman. Like that DC versus vampires trope is just played out because this shows you how it is also. Superman's not just strong, he's ridiculously smart. He flies, he dips out of the battle to the Fortress of Solitude and gets right back with the Phantom Zone projector. He's like, if we can't stop him here, let's get him out of here. And he just shoots him with the Phantom Zone projector. He's like, we'll put him in here. Let's figure out something to do because even then, even Superman knows that nobody, not even this demon, deserves to be stuck in the Phantom Zone forever because it is just hell unimaginable. Well, they don't have time to figure out what to do with him before he breaks out. He forces his way out of the Phantom Zone, just tears it open and comes right back out, which was dope. I've never seen anyone do that before. It really, really showed how powerful this demon was. So it comes down to it. Superman says enough is enough. He just grabs Neza and he flies into the tomb and shuts the door behind himself. And that's where the master tactician of Batman comes in.
Yeah. At that point, he's like, wait, because they're all outside of the tomb. Superman has sealed it from the inside. And so Batman's out here and he's like, something's missing. Something doesn't add up. Something isn't right about the outside here. And he realizes that there's something missing, that something important is gone. And at that point, he is able to find the rift for the Phantom Zone that Neza had crawled back out of. And they see Superman's arm come through it. And at that point, everybody runs over. Negative Man's like holding it open, and they're able to pull Superman back out through the Phantom Zone. And at that point, Superman breaks it down. And he's like, yeah, basically, I flew in there with the dude, locked him up, and then turned the Phantom projector on myself and then projected myself into the Phantom Zone where I was able to go out through this other rift. So, boom, Mr. Genius. And that's the point where he's like, that's when I was counting on Batman's genius.
Just leaning on each other, full trust. Don't have to discuss the plan. I knew that you'd be smart enough to not leave me there, that I wouldn't just do that and leave everyone I care about and everyone who depends on me hanging like that. You knew I wouldn't do that. Like, I'm like, dude, this is... Dan Mora's artwork is also phenomenal in it as well. Consistent, so consistent, dynamic, hard hitting. And at the end of this, we get this whole first arc has taken place back in time. Like, it really doesn't matter what happened with Robin, lost in time. They just got him off the table for the finale. We know from comic books, since this is set in the past, that they eventually find him somewhere. That's not the primary story. Supergirl is carrying some guilt that I expect us to get back to later, but they tease what's coming soon. We found out that this tomb is actually on Lazarus Island, where Joshua Williamson's Robin series started off, where the whole death tournament was. So we get like a little fast forward panel at the end that shows like that's where it is. We also know from some announcements that there's an upcoming Batman versus Robin, Bruce versus Damian story that's coming up, that's spinning out of the pages of not just World's Finest, but also the Robin comic and the Shadow War. So Neza is obviously going to be what they're bringing to that. We know that he possesses people. He possessed Superman in this issue, stouting like, I should have done this from the start. That quickly got corrected and everything. But, it was a good issue. Good first story arc.
Yes.
This continues to be easily one of the top 5 books on a monthly pull list. And if you have not checked it out, I highly recommend it. Mark Waid and Dan Mora are doing amazing things here. Mark Waid showing that he has still got it.
Yes. Did you check out Black Adam 2?
Black Adam 2, I did. I loved it. It was a fantastic issue. I'm loving this new kid.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was a little bit dense and kind of convoluted at times, but for the most part, it comes together, and I thought it worked really well. The last half of it, all the stuff with like him following the ghost kid and all that, I was like, I don't really understand what's happening here specifically, but the point was made, so you kind of understand that's how he ended up in the fight with Apocalypse.
Yeah, we got
with Darkseid, right?
Darkseid. We got a little bit of a backstory on that. I woke up that Tuesday morning. I did wake up early, and I read all of these digital back to back. This was a huge week. I don't have any physicals. I haven't been in the shop right now, so I'm sitting here trying to draw it all back here. Really, this whole thing that really stood out is the fact that Black Adam showed what's going on with him, the direness of the situation, how his entire his entourage of helpers, assistants, doctors, everything don't even help him. He's too proud of a person to even have a functioning doctor next to him. And he brought in this kid who's of his own descendant who can wield this power for him. He's wanting to pass on the power, and he does. And I thought it was pretty
Here comes White Adam.
Yeah, and he passes the power, and he says the word, and he becomes all white, awesome looking suit. And he's like, "You are White Adam." And this first reaction, I love how separate he is from the antics and the day-to-day of these meta characters, these superheroes in the DC universe. He's just a regular old guy, and he's like, he's so far removed from it. He's like, White Adam, we really got to talk about this white is good, black is bad thing. Like, I'm like, he was so funny, man. It was such a cool character, and his first thing he did, it shows you a little bit about his nature too, because he is trying to be a doctor. So the first thing he does now that he's empowered to actually do something is he grabs Black Adam and gets him to a hospital immediately to try to find out something to do. Doesn't matter how crazy the situation is. He sees that this man's dying. I have to do something.
Do no harm. And I love whenever they go into the hospital, he's like, we need this, we need this, we need this, we need this. They're like, who are you? He's like, I'm a med student. They're like, okay, yeah, we'll take over. We got this. Yeah, I thought it was a good issue. I enjoyed it. That series, I think, is going to be really good and probably like a great, crash course in Black Adam for whatever the movie does.
I want to also point out that Rodriguez is crushing it on these covers. That's the same guy that did the Shadows of the Bat covers for the Detective Comics for a while, those fancy painted covers. Same dude. Like, we've had 2 just stellar covers. Like, yeah, they're just really dope. I'm excited to see the next one.
Blood Syndicate season 1, number 3. I don't think you're reading that, right?
I am not.
This was a stellar issue. This one brought in a lot of character, legacy characters, So we got a lot of characters added to the roster in this one. But what was interesting about this one is we got this weird thing because there's this character named Flashback, right? And she can basically flash back 3 seconds in time in the old Blood Syndicate. And this one, it seems like her powers are a little bit more robust. And so we get in this weird dream state where it seems like we're in the future. And in this dream state, when we're in the future, there's actually a splash that has a ton of characters that we haven't seen in this iteration of Blood Syndicate, as well as every character from the from the Milestone universe that's going on right now, the Milestone Return stuff, and they are like in hell, like fighting some kind of crazy demons and stuff. I don't know what's going on. I don't think anybody else knows what's going on. I think that's deliberately seeded as like a future, maybe a future event that's coming up, because a lot of those characters haven't even met each other in this universe yet, and the Milestone Return stuff. So I think that's kind of being seeded as like a future thing, but it was just like a really cool, like full page splash, double page splash of just like every character locked in combat with like these crazy demon things. Which let me go ahead and like seed over to, I guess, like segue over to Duo. I know you read the first issue.
Yeah, I didn't ever get back to it.
Yeah, the first issue is like by far the worst of it. The second one was pretty good. This third issue, dude, like they kind of stepped up their game this time. There's still like a little bit of tropiness to it, and there's still like some kind of weird scenes, but essentially you find out what the deal is with those gods that they showed at the end of that first issue, where that guy just like walks up into the sky and he's like, here's all these people, you know? So basically those are the immutables. And the thing with them is like, these are like people from history, right? And they have this like, you could almost say like a mutation where like their cells just like infinitely regenerate. So like technically they're immortals. And so a lot of them are people like Alexander the Great. He was not necessarily a genius tactician beyond his own years, because he was basically an immortal. And so through living for so long and seeing so many battles, he was able to become the person we know in history, you know?
Vandal Savage, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, but the problem with living forever is that you kind of become a sociopath. You become so detached from humanity because everybody you love dies. And once you see that a couple cycles, you start to just be like, oh yeah, whatever, people are expendable, you know? And so and you kind of like elevate into like godhood and like go live up in the clouds and stuff. And so basically they are not happy with the characters of Duo, because they have basically been able to synthetically replicate what these people are capable of. Mm-hmm. And they're like, you don't understand, like, we do need a planet to live on. And so if everybody becomes immortal because you give them the technology to be immortal, well, everybody becomes a sociopath, and so the chances of world annihilation become much more likely.
This actually sounds ridiculously cool all of a sudden.
Yeah, this issue like really stepped up its game. We also, and like the main characters, like they kind of become like you know, they're being introduced to this. They're like, wait, there's like the immutables up here, like this whole thing is going on. Earlier in the issue, you also met this guy that like he's working on these android robot things for a company that have basically outsourced. So like they were making these androids, but they didn't really know how to get like the motor skills and stuff right on the hands and stuff. So they outsourced that to this guy that's like a specialist in that kind of thing, right? So at the end of the issue, they come flying in and they're like, yo, like you don't need to know about the immutables. And you're like, wait, what? So like there are humans out there that know about these immutable things. So like there's a whole thing going on with that. But some of the characters that you see like up in the heavenly area of the immutables do kind of look like the characters that we saw in that big splash page in Blood Syndicate. And so I am wondering if that's not what they're setting up, is like this new Milestone Beyond universe thing with like the immutables versus like the Milestone universe or something, if that's not what this is all building toward.
So you think that the Milestone banner on it wasn't just...
Yeah, because it's hard to imagine how this Duo series fits into the Milestone universe. Like the tone and the vibe is a little bit not really quite lining up for me. But if we're getting like a battle with these immutables, like that could get real interesting real quick, especially when you start thinking about like Icon and Hardware showing up.
The more you talk about it, the more I'm like, God, I got to get caught up. And it's really not that much to read. It's really...
No, it's not. Most of them are like 6 issues, you know? So, yeah, it's getting really interesting. I'm impressed with how it's finally starting to come together like a year later.
It lets you see that they had this really mapped out and planned out. And they keep pumping Milestone stuff, like paid ads and all kinds of stuff for it.
Yeah. That's why, like, you keep mentioning all this these two static series that they announced or whatever. I'm like, how does all this fit in then? Like, it seems like they have a really solid plan with all of what they're doing. And now you're like, there's these two series. I'm like, that doesn't sound like it fits in at all. So who knows what's going on there? But yeah, Milestone is getting really interesting right now.
Well, speaking of who knows what's going on, one that I read that I seriously doubt you read was the new Avengers X-Men's Eternals Marvel event called Judgment Day. Issue 1 of that dropped this week. I'm like, let me read that just to read it because it is an event. And I still try with Marvel, and I read it. I'm like, dude, as an issue 1, there's nothing in here to hook me. Druid, you watch the Eternals, right?
Mm-hmm.
Druid, you know, the angsty attitude one. He's just making a play for something, and he's the one that's like boosting up the getting permission to go after the X-Men. He's like, oh, they found immortality. You've heard him talk about this, and people mention it. It's been going on in X-Men for a long time, where they found the source of immortality. They don't want to share it with the world, and for whatever reason, blah blah blah. It was just goofy. Like if you're following all the X-Men stuff, I'm sure it would be an enjoyable event because it feels more tied to X-Men than anything, because they're the targets. You know what I mean? Their source of immortality is the problem, or the catalyst of what's going on. So maybe this event is setting up getting away from that. Like this, they had that run in time, and this event will be what caps it off. And because you have Eternals, you have X-Men, which are big players in the Marvel universe, it doesn't go unnoticed by the Avengers. And Cersei was picked up by Tony, and he was wanting information on what's going on with the Eternals, and what we know something's happening, blah blah blah. So they're getting involved in it, and there's really nothing that really drew me as somebody who doesn't follow all that already. If I was just stepping into this to check it out, there's really nothing that really like, oh, this is going to be tight. But I might read issue 2. It really depends on what comes out the week issue 2 drops, kind of thing, you know. Just to talk about it, but there was no big moments in this. There was no like, this is a huge event, so we have to deliver some kind of wow moment that'll get people talking. It didn't feel like an event comic under any situation or scenario. It just felt like just an issue of a book.
Yeah. I kind of thought you were going to go with Godzilla versus Power Rangers.
Well, I don't have my books. So I'm sitting here looking at the League of Comic Geeks layout for the books that dropped last week, and that was just the one that was right in front of my face. Flash 784 dropped this past week as well, which is part 2 of the search for Barry Allen. This is a Dark Crisis tie-in, so Barry Allen's been missing since the Justice League Incarnate run, and the Flash family are out trying to find them. So we pick up right where we left off, and we get Max Mercury and Jesse Quick. And all the Flash family took off different places and different groups to check different worlds, where 3 worlds had his Speed Force signature. That we were introduced to that idea in Jeremy Adams' beginning to his Flash run, where they were following Wally's Speed Force signature as he was bouncing around through all kinds of different eras and stuff. But it was cool that they went back to that. And Max Mercury and Jesse Quick landed on a world. It's basically Mad Max. There's no speedsters. Barry is driving a crazy car, getting chased around by people that look like they're straight out of Mad Max. They basically are able to catch up with him pretty easily, stop the people chasing him, and find out right quick that this is not the Barry they're looking for, and move on from there. We have Wally's kids in a crazy universe where it looks like Bruce Wayne Flash. You have like a Batman looking Flash, and it's called like the Night Flash or something like that. And they're on the run for their lives, and a shadowy character tells them, "Come this way. I won't let him get you. I got some popsicles in the basement," and all that stuff, and leave us hanging on that note. And then we get to the kind of the meat and potatoes of it. Wally is with Wallace, aka Ace. Like Jeremy Adams is doing a good job of trying to separate that weird thing that happened with DC trying to bring in Wallace West because he was Flash CW was hitting at the time, you know, and have the whole rebirth thing. It just gets convoluted, I know. But you have Wally West, and Wallace is Kid Flash, and his nickname is Ace that Wally gave him. And they found who they believe is the real Barry. You see Barry Allen running around stopping crime with a young Kid Flash, Wally West. But they noticed that this Barry Allen doesn't fit this time era. He should be in this, hypothetically, he should be in his 20s, in his upper 20s, based on this year we're looking at. But that Barry Allen's in his upper 40s. That's the right age of our Barry Allen. So Wallace, aka Ace, heads off to go track down Wally, follow him and see where he's going. And our Wally West goes down to confront Barry Allen. He gets down there and tries to talk to him, and he doesn't get a conversation with Barry Allen because Barry Allen looks at him and doesn't see him. He sees Reverse Flash. So inside of this illusion dimension, which we've learned has been set up by none other than Mxyzptlk's kid that we're getting introduced to later in the series here, when someone enters, they are immediately affected by it. So he just starts beating up Wally. Wally's not fighting back. So it takes us back to that first page of issue 1 where you see Barry just beating the tar out of Reverse Flash. It's actually Wally he's doing that to. Cut back over to Ace. He followed Wallace home, walks into the house, and everyone sees him. He's like, "Hey, welcome here. You've made it." And like, "What are you talking about?" Like, "We've been waiting on you to get here. You're right where you're supposed to be. You're the Flash." And he's like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, you're Bolt now." And he looks down. And he's immediately wearing this new like suit, awesome like blue colors on it and stuff. And he sits down at the table with the family, and he's kind of just accepting the illusion, and that's where it leaves us hanging. So if Wally doesn't get beaten to death by the real Barry, they're going to have to go get Ace now.
Interesting.
It was, and I think we have like one more issue for the search for Barry Allen. It's got to wrap up and get him over into the main meat and potatoes.
Yeah.
See what's next on here. Let's see if we crisscross one. Next one that I have that I see, Jurassic League. Did you read that?
Yeah, I was about to ask you about that one.
Yeah. Weakest issue yet for me.
I like the end of it, like maybe the last third of it. I thought was pretty okay, but the tone of it, especially the first portion, like it came in goofy as all get out. It was like, what is going on right now?
It was not as smooth. It just felt like it was just all over the place. Again, we had a lot of choppy panel to panel work where I'm having to try to figure out what I'm looking at. I've been waiting to get introduced to the Torch and the Flash and all that stuff, and it wasn't really an introduction to them. They were just there, just in the middle of doing stuff. I'm like,
well, they weren't doing anything. They were hanging out on the beach drinking Mai Tais.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're like, we don't. It was just weird.
And
the fight was horrible.
Yeah, like Homelander goes up with Black Manta and just like throws him like down next to him. And they're like, what's going on? Yeah. I felt the same way. I thought like the last bit was pretty good whenever they like try to drop the rock on somebody and then they're like, no, like we're better than that and this, that, and the other. Like it ended okay, but
Batman does, and they're kind of forming that team dynamic. If you really sit down and try to find the direction of it, it's there, but it wasn't at the forefront.
Exactly.
You have to look for it. It was definitely a rough issue for me to get through, having enjoyed the first two so much.
Yeah, I felt the same way. I was reading it, I was like, I don't really understand what's going on or why I should care. And then it got to the end, I was like, okay, it kind of summed up itself already, but it still was just like, eh. And I was really thrown off at the beginning. I was like, this feels like that Nickelodeon comic that Mermaid Man and Fish Boy. I was like, oh my God, here we go with that again.
So just, I ain't got much good to say about it, so I don't want to harp on it. It did get the gang together, so we'll see from here. And it's teasing. It did a lot of teasing of Darkseid's machine that they've all been trying to steal all these people.
The eggs and all that.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll get to that next, instead of fighting the same people for multiple issues in a row and not really moving the plot forward. But next up was Dark Crisis Young Justice, issue 2 of 6 for me. I don't know if you've picked up these or read them.
No.
This quite possibly could be the single worst issue of a comic book that I've read in my life.
Really?
That first issue I was singing high praises about. This one wasted no time not doing anything the first issue did good. So the first issue, it kind of played into the individuality of these characters that used to be a team and where they've been and how the years have affected them and coming back together and the interactions between them. This one just literally was the writer taking time to make sure we know how she feels and stands on every social issue that has ever existed in the history of man. Every single one of them that has ever existed. Like there wasn't time to tell a story because that's what they were doing. But the little bit of story that we got was what we already knew from the first issue. They're in also one of these illusion universes, and we see how they're interacting in it a little bit. And that was pretty much it. That was it. They're right where they were at the end of the first issue. You've got Robin an impulse saying this isn't right, this isn't how things are supposed to be, and you have Superboy ready to accept it because he's not happy with his life. Like, we were right where we left off, but enter some bad guys. Some bad guys show up on the last page. So bad guys that are time stamped to the Illusion universe year that they're in, which is back and during their run. The writer did do a good job of making sure, yes, every single one imaginable. I'm not even joking. And the writer did do a good job making sure that that she has a bone to pick with the original Young Justice run, that it's misogynistic and this and that, and like they go off on a spiel in this one. I'm like, which I'm don't have a problem at all with touching on social issues in comics. I have a huge problem with anything being so on the nose that we actually don't sit down and tell a comic book story. It's a perfect example was when I read and talked about the newest Mr. Miracle Source for Freedom they did. Issue 1 was ridiculously heavy-handed and on the nose. The rest of it was phenomenal. And the last 2 issues were some of my favorite stuff that I've read, at least from the miniseries side of DC in a long time. It was amazing. But you're balancing those things is what shows a good writer versus not a good writer.
Yeah, it's all about show and not tell.
Yeah, social.
Once you tell them you're talking about a social issue, all hope is lost.
Yeah, they've been present, prominent, and important in comics since the birth of comics. That's nothing that's new. That's part of what makes comics so powerful at times. But some people aren't good at doing it, and this issue was just bad. It was super bad. Like, I'm not saying I agree or disagree with anything that she had to say. I don't agree with how she applied it in this issue. It was just to crap on something that came before. Like, it was rough. We can hit that right now. If you would like.
Yeah, I agree with like it's man, like I actually enjoyed this issue, I think, more than the last one. But yeah, like it's so crazy. Like the end of it, they're just like Tommy Oliver escapes from jail, and then they're just like, "Oh yeah, I'm not trying to kill you. Like, here's your morpher. Like, save your friends. Good luck."
Yeah, they're not down with reading. It's just pure, dude. It's just pure fan service from page 1 to page 20, whatever. But it's definitely a blast. The artwork, Freddie Williams, right, is doing the artwork.
Yeah, Freddie Williams, I believe. Yeah,
so his artwork is great for this series. But more than that, it's purely the colorist that's selling me on the visuals in this. They're just so gorgeous to look at.
Yeah,
the best like morphing sequences and the Zord coming together, but it's cool. There's really not much to talk about plot wise at all, other than
Godzilla fought King Ghidorah fought the Rangers.
Rita got heavy handed in this and demanded that the aliens release Monster Zero because she wanted more monsters, and they tried to tell her our monsters do not listen to us. We just release them and watch it happen. And she's like, whatever. And so it didn't work out. So she sent her group out there to go get them in check. And if they think they're going to get King Ghidorah in check is pretty laughable. But so the Power Rangers are looking hopeless. They know that they don't have enough juice for this job, and they're calling it, we need the Dragon Zord, which is kind of laughable since we saw it get just like demolished.
Yeah.
It ain't got the juice either. And if it ain't got the juice, the Megazord ain't got the juice. So what I'm guaranteeing has happened in the next issue is they're going to have to form the Mega Dragon Zord. But are we going to link these things up with Godzilla is what I'm beginning to wonder. Like, is that going to be the only power play? Is for the Zords to link up on Godzilla?
Yeah, maybe they become weapons for him or something.
Will they take it?
I don't know. I don't know. They might stick to the tag team formula.
Yeah, that would
maybe they get behind King. It's a monster, so that don't even make any sense. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm kind of excited for it. I'm also kind of dreading it. We'll see what happens. Who cares? Like, it should be fun. That's all that really matters.
Have you been reading the new Fantastic Four? Not the new issue. The title of the book is New Fantastic Four. It's the team with Ghost Rider.
I know what you're talking about. I didn't read it, though. Yeah.
Wolverine and Spider-Man. So issue 2 dropped. It was fun. This is another one. I think this is another one from Peter David. I've been picking up all the Peter David Marvel stuff he's been doing that's been taking place in the throwback years. But it was cool. We kind of the whole premise was there's like a demon that's kind of running rampant in Vegas, causing like everyone to get really violent and start attacking each other. And that team was dispatched there, and they didn't know why. It turns out a priest that's local to Vegas is a meta himself, or whatever they call him in the Marvel universe. He has powers where if he wishes something, like not just like haphazardly, but he can accidentally make things happen. And he wished that the Fantastic Four was there to help him at the time era of them being the team. So that's where I've ended up there. At the end of the first issue, he wished that they were anywhere but here because they're all getting attacked, and they all went other places other than Ghost Rider. He was left standing there to fight all these demons off, and it was really cool. We get to see him doing all kinds of cool stuff with his chain, like hardening it like a spear, and there's a lot of cool Ghost Rider stuff in it. We also see the priest realize what he can do and start to use that to his advantage. So they're all still right there at ground zero now. They all got brought back to the fight, and it's looking more dire than it was in the first issue with more people under the influence of this villain. It's just straight up good classic comic book fun. Just great banter between the team, which I love these hodgepodge teams. So you have Wolverine calling everyone bub like it's an insult, and Spider-Man quirky remarks every chance he gets, and you have Joe Fixit just talking down to everybody. The team has no possibility of working out, but yet here it is working out, and I just absolutely love that kind of stuff.
Did you ever read A Calculated Man?
I didn't. I actually still have it right here behind
me. Well, the second one came out this week, and it was still stellar and phenomenal. The plot thickens, I guess is the best way to put it, and we get more expansion on the characters, their interactions, and a little more idea of how we ended up where we were at the beginning of the first issue, basically. So still a great series. I'm enjoying that 2 issues deep. And then I guess over to Nightwing. Did you check this one out?
I didn't. I'm like 3 issues behind on that.
This one was like a lot of like plot threading, I guess. We kind of get we find out like Blockbuster knows that somebody told Dick that they were there to destroy the apartment, and they know that he called somebody before everything started. And so basically they're trying to they're trying to kind of expose the rat within Blockbuster's little party there. They kind of set his sister up, and so she incidentally exposes herself as the rat, and so that's pretty much what's going on there. I guess like the big moment was supposed to be Dick giving Barbara a kiss, so I guess they're officially like an item or whatever, and they have a bunch of government documents that expose like the police chief and all of the corruption within the police force. And so they brought in like a new police chief and stuff that is supposed to like root out all the corruption within the Bloodhaven Police Department. So it was kind of like, crossing all the threads and kind of setting up whatever the next little run of this story is going to be, is like now all the pieces are in place. So it was a good issue. Wasn't like my favorite of the run so far, but like I said, it's also a lot of like closing up what happened and setting up like what the next chunk of the story is going to be. So forgivable, but it's still got that amazing artwork, so you can't complain about that part.
Nice. Well, we've hit 10:30, and I'm going to call it after this next book. I do want to touch on We Live, issue number 4. Age of the Palladians came out, and this was a shocker of an issue. It didn't hit as hard as issue 3 did as an all-around issue, but I really feel like they did not write this. The more we get closer to the end, we got one more issue of this arc. And I know that this is going to be ridiculously open-ended. We're not getting another crazy time jump and everything like we did from 1 to 2. It's just going to be continued, and probably have a date on it, even like in what season, like to be continued in fall or whatever like that. But
yeah,
the reconnection team managed to get the power source reconnected, save the city, at least get the shields up. The city that had no shield left, it was just getting demolished by nature and all these animals. The shield comes on and just decimates everything, pushes it back. We see that Captain Nesbo turns everybody in, and he just gets killed for doing it. Like this crazy religious blood cult that he's turning these people into for cannibalistic reasons. They just murder him. They set him free by murdering him, kind of thing. Tala and Humbo escape. They decide not to stay there, and she asks for. He's like, "We need Alice," and I thought that was awesome. That he's able to transform into Alice and break away
I
a
thought
little
that
bit.
was a great scene too. The way that it plays with the transformation and like the look on his face, right? Like you kind of see the change happen, you know.
Yeah. So she's riding Alice out, and they're getting past one more guard, and the guard takes a swing at him, and she falls, like holding her neck, gets her throat slit wide open, falls down dead as shit, like no life in her, just not laying there gurgling, dead. She's done, and that's actually what managed to give the dragon, aka Hatoto, who is with the reconnection team, the juice he needed. He felt that connection, and he felt it sever.
Yeah, it cuts to him, and we get
Super Saiyan.
Yeah, well, and then it cuts back to the past. That was actually the first time we've seen the past again, right?
Since issue 1.
Yeah, and so we go back to like seeing him and Tala, they go and like recharge his suit, and basically she goes and like tells him a story about his parents. Recharge his suit,
which is just him getting his older sister to tell him a story, because he wants his older sister to tell him a story, a bedtime story, and
about their family, and
that's what I'm, like, he wanted that time with his older sister, and she tells him this heartbreaking story, knowing what they've been through, thinking back to issue 1, and the whole time she's like, "You're going to have to do this yourself one day. You don't need me to do it. You know how to do it." He's like, "Yeah, but you tell the stories better. I don't care that I know them. It doesn't matter. You've told me so many times. I want to hear you tell me again." And she kept stressing, like, "You're going to have to be your own man one day. You know, you're going to have to." And then here we are. She's gone. I'm like, gee.
And the story she tells, like, holy crap, it was so good, you know? It starts with the rain on the roof of the car, and it ends with the rain on the roof of the car. Like, the way that they just, like, sit there. She's like, yeah, and we just sat there and we listened to the rain on the roof of the car. I'm like, oh, my God, like, chills, man. Like, it was such a good story. And then once it jumps back from that, that's where he, like, you know, he's heard his story. He recharges his suit, and then he just, like, goes straight Super Saiyan and starts.
He just explodes with energy. Yeah. It was wild. And they left us on that note. So I'm itching to see what happens next. If there's an out for Tala, if she's gone for good, if Hatoto's now going to have to face this world by himself, which she's been priming him to do.
He's kind of in dire straits himself, right? Because his like face shield was broken, and he's like just floating in the punch, right?
Well, to call back to issue 1, if you remember, Tala dove into the punch at the risk of herself. And she was exposed to the punch, and she was told by everybody, "You should be dead. We don't know why you're not dead or how you're reacting to that." So I think we're about to see her reaction to the punch in the next issue. That's so I think there might be something with them, with their
DNA.
There's something different about them.
Yeah.
And I don't know if the Palladians react to the punch the same way or anything. They're not to be looked at the same way as just a normal person. And Tala, there's something about her different than everybody else too that we haven't explored yet. So we'll see. And
the tension in and drama in that scene was played so well, though. Like wherever the what's his name, Dylan, the reconnector, like he's going down and down, and you're like following, and then just like hangs. And he's like, "Oh no!" And you just see like half the body. Yeah, and you're like, "Whoa!"
Like, hey, Dylan's gone. Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, it happened quick. But I read the finale to Maestro. It was good. It ended on the tough note, big fight and everything. He didn't use his strength. He used his smarts to blow up Doom's whole compound and take the W home and go sit back on his throne. And to be continued in Future Imperfect. It was a great finale in there. And I think there's probably a couple more, but I got to dip out of here for tonight.
Yeah.
And, appreciate everybody coming and hanging out tonight. Remember to hit that thumbs up. Be sure to check out the merch if you haven't looked at it yet. Go over there, take a peek at it. There's some fun stuff over there. I'm going to be putting some more up there. I'm going to do a full video showcasing some of the stuff and announcing it to be able to have on the channel for people to find easy. The link to the merch store is in the description to the video. So definitely go check it out. Like I said, I got the Legion shirts. You can get them in whatever color you want. The Fandom Happens Here shirt. And to be honest with you, this was my favorite shirt that I had until made the official Austin over Peach shirt, because that's what time it is. Austin over Peach. And yeah. Until next time, guys, as always, I'm Mark, but we are Legion.
Wow! How awesome!
Whoa! You real Power Ranger, Finn. All right, here it comes.
We're gonna take your picture. 1, 2, 3.
Got it. Thank you.